Hello. Took a second to change the fucking oh shit. Some things drop it in there. Cucumber, thank you so much for the resub. Hell yeah. And Seraptor, thank you for the follow. We get some air horns as soon as it'll fucking there we go. Thank y'all, really appreciate it. Man, it's a day. So I switched up like what is it called? There's a filter that you can put on your microphone in Streamlabs itself so that it cuts uh what's the word? I'm blanking on like words today. This is the first time I've spoken to a human, I guess, like in person for a while. Um let's see. Let's see if I can make words with my brain. Let's do it, Jesse. What are we trying to say? Um, there's a filter on the microphone that cuts out background noise, and I bumped it up some because I noticed I have my microphone at a higher volume right now because I've been reading, and if I'm like here next to the mic speaking at this volume, I want it to be able to like project enough. So I switched it up, and I hopefully this is better because I noticed that if I just leave the mic alone, like right now, if I'm just like leaving it alone right now and I'm not speaking, the little levely thingy goes all the way down to 0 now. But before it was like slightly moving, which meant that it was picking up on some sort of sound, which could have been the fan or just the general ambiance of the room. So I kicked it up a bit, the sensitivity of it. So now it's at -30 instead of -10. I did little tests before I started the stream, where I tried it at 15 and then -15, and then -20, and then I kicked it to 30. And I think that's the best. But let me know if I sound weird or underwater or something like that. But it should be good. I watched the VODs and they seemed. Khaleesi, hi. You just. It's like I said it was DINNER or something. She just like dove into here. She jumped up on my desk like there was a big hurry of some kind. Oh, little stretch. Real good. Hi. What are you doing? She probably does want dinner. I should feed her. But hi, how are y'all doing? Hello, obligatory ruination. Hello, Cucumber, Andrew. How y'all doing? Oh, Kitty, yes, yeah. I was just petting her and she looked up at me like, fucking good. That's the good shit. That's the good pets. Oh, very nice. Yeah. Uh, Another great therapy session today, guys. Yeah, y'all are here for your appointment, right? Time to just let's 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 vibe. Let's dump all our problems. Oh, she's so cute. You're on camera. Hi. Yeah. Oh, real good. That's the happy face, huh? Oh, little purrs. You are so cute. She really wants food. She knows like if she like that's how she gets fed. If I forget, she'll just jump up on me and just act super cute. Be like, "Well, what if you fed me right now instead of in an hour?" Yeah, I will because I'm a sucker for this. You should. Oh, good evening. No, I mean I actually talked to my therapist today. Okay, I wasn't sure if this is your therapy. It can be a form of therapy. Hello. Dungeons and Dragons was that for me. We're starting on our second campaign. We're just like 2 sessions in, with our second campaign in Lost in the Multiverse, and that's been super fun because it's Harvest Cove, and we're playing in this like it's kind of like a middle of the nowhere town called Harvest Cove in California, I believe. It's like right off the coast, and it's myself playing Dash Kwiatkowski, Sam Haft, and Brandy Ball, and it's really fun so far. And this is our first time like playing over the internet, because we did the first season of Lost in the Multiverse totally in person, Um, but I forgot how much I missed it. I really missed playing around with those goofballs because they're all great. So I'm gonna feed her real quick, but I'm gonna talk while I do it. Let's see. Therapy can be anything that genuinely helps. Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. That is a great example of just like, hi, I know. I'll feed you. I know. I know. You're very impatient. Oh, you're so sweet. What a baby. I'm sorry. I'm a sucker. I can't. Even if she's like supposed to get fed an hour from now, I like. She's just so cute. She's drooling. She's so excited for food. Okay. Yeah. All right. 1 second. You want dinner? Is it in the fridge? It is. What's this? Yeah. Where's your bowl? Here it is. Oh, yeah. I can hear you purring from all the way up here. Yeah. Boom, boom. Yeah. You're a good baby. Yes, you are. All right. I'm gonna go over here now. Okay. You so good. Okay. The child has been fed. I'm most of the way through listening to Stream Warriors. Oh, cool. What's that? Is that D&D related or is it? Is it not? Ah. Poor cat. What? She's so weird. Oh, you talked to your therapist about how you want to be in a relationship, and you realize before you can start a relationship, you got to figure out what you want in one. Normally, you aren't able to figure out what that meant, but she phrased it in a way that you can finally understand. That's great. I love that. Oh, it's from the 24-hour stream. I didn't know that's what they called it. Stream Warriors. I it's so funny because like I never know what happens in the show that I can talk about. Like I don't listen to or watch or whatever you would call Lost in the Multiverse. So I'll record it, and then weeks will go by, and someone will tell me, like they'll tag me in something on Twitter and be like, "Oh my god, this was a great moment," and I'm like, "Oh good, I can finally talk about that." But I've had to catch myself a few times because I want to say something on Twitter, and then I message Dash, and I'm like, "Can I talk about this? Has this happened yet?" And they're like, "No." But yeah, it's I'm glad that all of the 24-hour stream is out. Mm. Yeah, I made that mistake before. I went into a relationship for the sake of just having one and lost 2 years of my life not realizing I was unhappy. I feel that. I feel that a lot. I had a good conversation with a friend yesterday that the chill, cute NB that I've been hanging with, and we talked about you know, what are we? Is that a thing we should talk about? And I talked about how I don't really experience romantic attraction anymore because I've been on hormones long enough, and then we talked about what a romantic relationship really is and why is that, how is that different from platonic. And I realized a lot of it is just cultural, like because I feel everything basically, you know up to the point of romance. I just don't. But what even is romance? Like what does that mean? Is it, and then we got into the nitty gritty of that. But basically we realized we both want the same thing, so that's good. Put too much sugar in my coffee. Lost in the Multiverse is on the first miniseries after the end of the original cast. Yes. Wait, is there a miniseries after the original cast? I totally forget. In my head, it was Lost in the Multiverse, and then which was with Kathy, Kathy Dash, Sam, Brandy, and I, and then yes, I'm playing Tyler. Yes, okay. I guess we don't call that a miniseries. We call that season 2, because it's gonna be the same length, I believe, or whatever it is. It's just season 2 of Lost in the Multiverse. It's like a new campaign. Yeah. Yeah, don't feel shitty for including what you're into sexually, and take into account libido. Sexual compatibility is part of a healthy relationship as well. Yeah, totally, for sure. Oh, you thought Sam was DM for the new campaign? No, it's still Dash. I believe Sam is kicking around the idea of what he wants to do for a campaign, but that might be season 3 of Lost in the Multiverse, because we want to give him time to like figure out the nitty gritty of like the mechanics and how the game is going to work and stuff. And he's had a baby, so he's been a little busy with that, and also Sam is fantastic. He's always busy. He's always working on a million things. So I don't blame him for not figuring shit out yet. But to the best of my knowledge, he's working on it, and I'm like super excited to see what his brain comes up with, because Dash is great. They're like, you know, um, they're like, they're such a good DM. I'm really fortunate, because Lost in the Multiverse was my first experience with D&D, and their brain works super well, and like Sam is super creative, and like and Brandy's fantastic. So I love my team. My team is great, and Kathy's awesome too. I wish she was playing with us as well. But getting the ability and I consider myself very privileged that I'm able to play around in this space with these like funny creative people. I misunderstood what they were saying in the season 1 finale. Yeah. Well, actually, when the season 1 finale happened, maybe we thought that might have been at a point where we thought we were doing Sam's campaign next. But what we ended up doing is Harvest Cove. I'm playing Tyler, and it's super exciting. I'm really enjoying it. Well, I think that's good for our good as any place to start, as we've had a little talky talk. Let's fucking go. Yeah, it sounded like Dash was going to do a mini series as Sam was getting final details together. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's this is we're calling it season 2. I suppose each campaign is a different season. But I was also under the impression that we were going to call it like a different series of some kind. But we decided not to. And I was like, cool, okay. Doesn't matter to me. Hello, kitty. Yeah. Khaleesi's been very good in quarantine. She's enjoying that I'm home. Because I was already home all the time. But now it's even more all the time. Yeah, I'm talking about you. You're so cute. Yeah. She did that thing, that cat thing, where they like close their eyes at you, where it's like a glare. Back to the Nick Dunn is a fucking piece of shit Chronicles. Yeah, that's the name of the book. Turns out it's not Gone Girl. Oh, we're starting with an Amy chapter. That's correct. Because we got raided last time as I was finishing up a chapter, and I was like, hey, you know what? Fuck it, let's do one more. So this is the first time we're starting with an Amy chapter. Amy Elliott Dunn, June 26th, 2012. Diary entry. Oh, okay. Actually, this is good. I I have to remind you that the last chapter with Nick ended with Nick seeing this vision, basically, where he's just like imagining what has happened because we just found out that Amy was pregnant. So he had said, I ducked my head into my hands and muttered, oh God, and while I was doing it, I saw my wife on the floor of our kitchen, her hands around her belly, and her head bashed in. And now Amy's chapter's beginning. I have never felt more alive in my life. It is a bright, blue sky day. The birds are lunatic with the warmth. The river outside is gushing past, and I am utterly alive. Scared, thrilled, but alive. This morning when I woke up, Nick was gone. I sat in bed staring at the ceiling, watching the sun golden it a foot at a time. I have never heard that expression before. It looks wrong. Watching the sun golden it a foot at a time. Let's just roll with it. Okay. Watching the sun golden it a foot at a time, the bluebirds singing right outside our window, and I wanted to vomit. My throat was clenching and unclenching like a heart. I told myself I would not throw up, then I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Bile and warm water and one small bobbing pea. As my stomach was seizing and my eyes were tearing and I was gasping for breath, I started doing the only kind of math a woman does, huddled over a toilet. I'm on the pill, but I'd also forgotten a day or two. What does it matter? I'm 38. I have been on the pill for almost 2 decades. I'm not going to accidentally get pregnant. I found the tests behind a locked sheet of glass. I had to track down a harried, mustached woman to unlock the case and point out one I wanted while she waited impatiently. She handed it to me with a clinical stare and said, "Good luck." I didn't know what would be good luck, plus sign or minus sign. I drove home and read the directions 3 times, and I held the stick at the right angle for the right number of seconds, and then I set it on the edge of the sink and ran away like it was a bomb. 3 minutes, so I turned on the radio, and of course it was a Tom Petty song. Is there ever a time you turn on the radio and don't hear a Tom Petty song? So I sang every word to American Girl, and then I crept back into the bathroom like the test was something I had to sneak up on, my heart beating more frantically than it should, and I was pregnant. I was suddenly running across the summer lawn and down the street, banging on Noelle's door, and when she opened it, I burst into tears and showed her the stick and yelled, "I'm pregnant!" And then someone else besides me knew, and so I was scared. Once I got back home, I had 2 thoughts. 1, our anniversary is coming next week. I will use the clues as love letters, a beautiful antique wooden cradle waiting at the end. I will convince him we belong together, as a family. 2, I wish I'd been able to get that gun. I get frightened now, sometimes, when my husband gets home. A few weeks ago, Nick asked me to go out on the raft with him, float along in the current under a blue sky. I actually wrapped my hands around our newel post when he asked me this. I clung to it, because I had an image of him wobbling the raft, teasing at first, laughing at my panic, and then his face going tight, determined, and me falling into the water, that muddy brown water, scratchy with sticks and sand, and him on top of me, holding me under with one strong arm until I stopped struggling. I can't help it. Nick married me when I was young, rich, beautiful woman, and now I am poor, jobless, closer to 40 than 30. I'm not just pretty anymore. I am pretty for my age. It is the truth. My value has decreased. I can tell by the way Nick looks at me. But it's not the look of a guy who took a tumble on an honest bet. It's the look of a man who feels swindled. Soon it may be the look of a man who is trapped. He might have been able to divorce me before the baby, but he would never do that now, not good guy Nick. He couldn't bear to have everyone in this family values town believe he's the kind of guy who abandons his wife and child. He'd rather stay and suffer with me. suffer and resent and rage. I won't have an abortion. The baby is 6 weeks in my belly today, the size of a lentil, and is growing eyes and lungs and ears. A few hours ago, I went into the kitchen and found a snap-top container of dried beans Maureen had given me for Nick's favorite soup, and I pulled out a lentil and laid it on the counter. It was smaller than my pinky nail, tiny. I couldn't bear to leave it on the cold countertop, so I picked it up and held it in my palm and petted it with the tip of a finger. Now it's in the pocket of my t-shirt, so I can keep it close. I won't get an abortion, and I won't divorce Nick, not yet, because I can still remember how he'd dive into the ocean on a summer day and stand on his hands, his legs flailing out of the water, and leap back up with the best seashell just for me. And I'd let my eyes get dazzled by the sun, and I'd shut them and see the colors blinking like raindrops in the inside of my eyelids as Nick kissed me with salty lips, and I'd think, I am so lucky. This is my husband. This man will be the father of my children. We'll all be so happy. But I may be wrong. I may be very wrong. Because sometimes the way he looks at me, that sweet boy from the beach, man of my dreams, father of my child, I catch him looking at me with those watchful eyes, the eyes of an insect, pure calculation, and I think, this man might kill me. So if you find this and I'm dead, well, sorry, that's not funny. That line still gives me chills, that this man might kill me. It's, oh, I can hear it in Rosamund Pike's voice. Good guy Nick. Not the first descriptor I'd pick for him. Hey! Blixtia! Thank you so much for the follow. Really appreciate it. Oh, there's new people. Hello! Welcome. We're reading Gone Girl. Nick the Dick. Nick Dunn. 7 days gone. It was time. At exactly 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. New York time, I picked up my phone. My wife was definitely pregnant. I was definitely the prime, only suspect. I was going to get a lawyer today, and he was going to be the very first lawyer I didn't want and absolutely needed. Tanner Bolt. A grim necessity. Flip around any of the legal networks, the true crime shows, and Tanner Bolt's spray-tanned face would pop up, indignant and concerned on behalf of whatever freak show client he was representing. That's very interesting. Tanner Bolt is spray-tanned in this. I wonder, because Tanner Bolt in the movie is played by Tyler Perry. And, you know, this, from the descriptor we've gotten so far, Tanner Bolt sounds like a kind of sleazy, like, Better Call Saul kind of, you know, so that's going to be interesting to see, like, what he looks like in the book. He became famous at 34 for representing Cody Olson, a Chicago restaurateur accused of strangling his very pregnant wife and dumping her body in a landfill. Corpse dogs detected the scent of a dead body inside the trunk of Cody's Mercedes. A search of his laptop revealed that someone had printed out a map to the nearest landfill the morning Cody's wife went missing. A no-brainer. By the time Tanner Bolt was done, everyone, the police department, 2 West Side Chicago gang members, a disgruntled club bouncer, was implicated except Cody Olson, who walked out of the courtroom and bought cocktails all around. In the decades since, Tanner Bolt had become known as the Hubby Hawk. His specialty was swooping down in high-profile cases to represent men accused of murdering their wives. He was successful over half the time, which wasn't bad, considering the cases were usually damning. The accused extremely unlikable, cheaters, narcissists, sociopaths. Tanner Bolt's other nickname was Dickhead Defender. I had a 2 p.m. appointment. Hey, Khaleesi, stop that. Khaleesi. Thank you. Hey. Yeah, I can still see you. So weird. Make him sound like Donald Trump. I can't listen. I could. That's the easy joke. I go for the more. We'll see. We'll see when we get to him. We'll build a voice. We'll see if I can start it there. The character speaks to me. I'm a real actor. Who is talking? This is. Okay. Someone's picking up the phone. Oh wait, this is. This is Amy's mom. Okay. This is Mary Beth Elliott. Please leave a message, and I will return promptly. She said in a voice just like Amy's. Amy, who would not return promptly. I was speeding to the airport to fly to New York and meet with Tanner Bolt. When I'd asked Boney's permission to leave town, she seemed amused. Cops don't really do that. That's just on TV. Hi, Mary Beth. It's Nick again. I'm anxious to talk to you. I wanted to tell you, I truly didn't know about the pregnancy. I'm just as shocked as you must be. Also, I'm hiring an attorney, just so you know. I think even Rand had suggested it, so... Anyway, you know how bad I am on messages. I hope you call me back. Tanner Bolt's office was in Midtown, not far from where I used to work. The elevator shot me up 25 stories, but it was so smooth that I wasn't sure I was moving until my ears popped. At the 26th floor, a tight-lipped blonde in a sleek business suit stepped on. She tapped her foot impatiently, waited for the doors to shut, then snapped at me, "Why don't you hit close?" I flashed her the smile I give petulant women, the lighten-up smile, the one Amy called the beloved Nicky grin, and then the woman recognized me. "Oh," she said. She looked as if she smelled something rancid. She seemed personally vindicated when I scuttled out on Tanner's floor. This guy was the best, and I needed the best, but I also resented being associated with him in any way. This sleazebag, this showboat, this attorney to the guilty. I pre-hated Tanner Bolt so much that I expected his office to look like a Miami Vice set. But Bolt and Bolt was quite the opposite. It was dignified, lawyerly. Behind spotless glass doors, people in very good suits commuted busily between offices. A young, pretty man with a tie the color of tropical fruit greeted me and settled me down in the shiny glass and mirror reception area and grandly offered water, declined, then went back to a gleaming desk and picked up a gleaming phone. I sat on the sofa, watching the skyline, cranes pecking up and down like mechanical birds. Then I unfolded Amy's final clue from my pocket. 5 years is wood. Was I going to be the end prize of the treasure hunt? Something for the baby? A carved oak cradle, a wooden rattle? Something for our baby and for us to start over. The done's redone. Go phoned while I was still staring at the clue. "Are we okay?" she asked immediately. My sister thought I was possibly a wife killer. We're as okay as I think we can ever be again, considering. "Nick, I'm sorry. I called to say I'm sorry," Go said. "I woke up and felt totally insane and awful. I lost my head. It was a momentary freakout. I really, truly apologize." I remained silent. You gotta give me this, Nick. Exhaustion and stress and... I'm sorry. Truly. Okay. I lied. But I'm glad, actually. It cleared the air. She was definitely pregnant. My stomach turned. Again, I felt as if I had forgotten something crucial. I'd overlooked something and would pay for it. "I'm sorry," Go said. She waited a few seconds. "The fact of the matter is, I can't talk about it. I can't." "Okay." "I'm actually in New York," I said. "I have an appointment with Tanner Bolt." She let out a whoosh of breath. "Thank God. You were able to see him that quick?" "That's how fucked my case is." I've been patched through at once to Tanner. I was on hold all of 3 seconds after stating my name, and when I told him about my living room interrogation, about the pregnancy, He ordered me to hop the next plane. I'm kind of freaking out, I said. You're doing the smart thing. Seriously. Another pause. His name can't really be Tanner Bolt, can it? I said, trying to make light. I heard it's an anagram for Ratner Tolb. Really? No. I laughed. An inappropriate feeling, but good. Then from the far side of the room, the anagram was walking toward me. Black pinstriped suit and lime green tie, sharky grin. He walked with his hand out in shake and strike mode. Nick Dunn, I'm Tanner Bolt. Come with me. Let's get to work. Okay, I think I'm gonna go immediately. Usually what I do with like audition sites and stuff, a voice will just come to me. I immediately saw this guy as Saul Goodman, so we're just gonna go with that. And when I say Saul Goodman, I mean that this is how some actors come up with voices, is, or rather, it's what I try to teach. I don't know actually how many actually do this strategy, but everyone has a different voice, and everyone's impression of a voice is going to sound different because they have a different voice. They have different vocal cords than the original actor. So me doing an impression of Saul Goodman, half-assed, not doing any research on it, is going to sound different than Saul Goodman, you know? So this is going to be a mix. It's not going to be a voice match. I hate voice matching, but I wanted to let you know what the, inspiration is. Oh shit, wood is what I'm all about. Hell yeah. Hi, Khaleesi. Why are you looking at me like that? Those are some judgy eyes, cat. I see you. Tanner Bolt's office seemed designed to resemble the club room of an exclusive all-men's golf course. Comfortable leather chairs, shelves thick with legal books, a gas fireplace with flames flickering in the air conditioning. Oh, I love this description. That's really good. A gas fireplace with flames flickering in the air conditioning. I love that. Sit down, have a cigar, complain about the wife, tell some questionable jokes. Just us guys here. Bolt deliberately chose not to sit behind his desk. He ushered me toward a two-man table as if we were going to play chess. This is a conversation for us partners, Bolt said without having to say it. We'll sit at our little war room table and get down to it. My retainer, Mr. Dunn, is $100,000. That's a lot of money, obviously. So I want to be clear on what I offer and what I will expect of you, okay? I don't know whether I want to put a little accent in it. I don't think so. We'll just see what comes out. Yeah, I like to make note of dialects when I write in a character. It's annoying as a reader to go several chapters only to find out the voice in their head was all wrong. Yes, please. As that has happened a few times while we were reading Gone Girl. I believe it happened with I forget the name of the character, but it's the talk show host that was like really grilling Nick. She talked for a while, and then they were like, she said in her Texan drawl, and I was like, "Fuck, okay." Khaleesi, that's a wall. Don't do that. You can't just sharpen your claws on anything you want. And she's also not sharpening her claws. You know, like it's not doing anything. She's just like doing a weird shit. Yeah, that's why I prefer audiobooks. Like, let the narrator worry about that shit. Yeah. So you're just watching me suffer in real time. When you hear a person speak, dialect is the first thing you notice, so it should be the same in text. That's a very good point. I agree. He aimed unblinkingly. He aimed unblinking eyes at me, a sympathetic smile, and waited for me to nod. Only Tanner Bolt could get away with making me, a client, fly to him, then tell me what kind of dance I need to do in order to give him my money. Pardon me. I win, Mr. Dunn. I win unwinnable cases, and the case that I think you may soon face is, I don't want to patronize you, it's a tough one. Money troubles, bumpy marriage, pregnant wife. The media has turned on you. The public has turned on you. He twisted a signet ring on his right hand and waited for me to show him I was listening. I'd always heard the phrase, "At 40, a man wears the face he's earned." Bolt's 40-ish face was well-tended, almost wrinkle-free, pleasantly plump with ego. Here was a confident man, the best in his field, a man who liked his life. "There will be no more police interviews without my presence," Bolt was saying. "There's something I seriously regret you did, but before we even get to the legal portion, we need to start dealing with public opinion, because the way it's going, we have to assume everything is going to get leaked. Your credit cards, the life insurance, the supposedly staged crime scene, the mopped up blood, it looks very bad, my friend. And so, it's a vicious cycle. The cops think you did it, they let the public know. The public is outraged, they demand an arrest. So, 1, we've got to find an alternative suspect. 2, we've got to keep the support of Amy's parents. I cannot emphasize that piece enough. And 3, we've got to fix your image, because should this go to trial, it will influence the juror pool. Change of venue doesn't mean anything anymore. 24-hour cable, internet, the whole world is your venue, so I cannot tell you how key it is to start turning this whole thing around. I'd like that too, but believe me. How are things with Amy's parents? Can we get them to make a statement of support? I haven't spoken with them since it was confirmed that Amy was pregnant. Is pregnant. Tanner frowned at me. She is pregnant. Never ever mention your wife in the past tense. Fuck. I put my face in my palm for a second. I hadn't even noticed what I'd said. Don't worry about it with me, Bolt said, waving the air. What is it? Oh, magname. It's tough because when a word is halfway through a sentence, then does the dash and then continues next, next sentence. It's a very easy word to say, but then you see it in 2 chunks and your brain is trying to put it together. Magnanimously? I feel like that's it. I can't see it all as one word. Come on, brain. Magnanimously. Khaleesi, I hear you in there. I'll just let her do her thing. Tanner Bolt, Ace Attorney. Yeah, that's the next fucking game. Let's see. Where even was I? Okay. But everywhere else, worry. Worry hard. From now on, I don't want you to open your mouth if you haven't thought it through. So you haven't spoken to Amy's parents. I don't like that. You've tried to get in touch, I assume? I've left a few messages. Bolt scrawled something on a yellow legal pad. Okay, we have to assume this is bad news for us, but you need to track them down. Nowhere public, where some asshole with a camera phone can film you. We can't have another Shauna Kelly moment. Or send your sister in a recon mission, see what's going on. Actually do that, that's better. Okay. I need you to make a list for me, Nick, of all the nice things you've done for Amy over the years, romantic things, especially in this past year. You cooked her chicken soup when she was sick, or you sent her love letters while you were on a business trip. Nothing too flashy. I don't care about jewelry unless you guys picked it up on vacation or something. We need real personal stuff here, romantic movie stuff. What if I'm not a romantic movie kind of guy? Tanner tightened his lips, then blew them back out. Come up with something, okay, Nick? You seem like a good guy. I'm sure you did something thoughtful this past year. I couldn't think of a decent thing I'd done in the past 2 years. In New York, those first few years of marriage, I'd been desperate to please my wife, to return to those loose-limbed days when she'd run across a drugstore parking lot and leap into my arms, a spontaneous celebration of her hairspray purchase. Her face pressed up against mine all the time, her bright blue eyes wide and her yellow lashes catching on mine, the heat of her breath just under my nose, the silliness of it. For 2 years I tried as my old wife slipped away, and I tried so hard. No anger, no arguments, the constant kowtowing, the capitulation, the sitcom husband version of me. Yes, dear, of course, sweetheart. The fucking energy leached from my body as my frantic rabbit thoughts tried to figure out how to make her happy, and each action, each attempt was met with a rolled eye or a sad little sigh. You just don't get it, sigh. By the time we left for Missouri, I was just pissed. I was ashamed of the memory of me, the scuttling, scraping, hunchbacked toady of a man I'd turned into. So I wasn't romantic. I wasn't even nice. Also, I need a list of people who may have harmed Amy, who may have had something against her. I should tell you, it seems Amy tried to buy a gun earlier this year. The cops know? Yes. Did you know? And not until the guy she tried to buy from told me. He took exactly 2 seconds to think. Then, I bet their theory is she wanted a gun to protect herself from you, he said. She was isolated, she was scared, she wanted to believe in you, yet she could feel something was very wrong, so she wanted a gun in case her worst fear was correct. Wow, you're good. My dad was a cop, he said. But I do like the gun idea. Now we just need someone to match it to besides you. Nothing's too far out. If she argued with a neighbor constantly over a barking dog, if she was forced to rebuff a flirty guy, whatever you got, I need. What do you know about Tommy O'Hara? Right. I know he called the tip line a few times. He was accused of date raping Amy in 2005. I felt my mouth open, but I said nothing. What was this? Okay. She was dating him casually. There was a dinner date at his place. Things got out of hand, and he raped her, according to my sources. When in 2005? May. It was during the 8 months when I'd lost Amy. The time between our New Year's meeting and my finding her again on 7th Avenue. Tanner tightened his tie, twisted a diamond-studded wedding band, assessing me. She never told you. I haven't heard a single thing about this, I said. From anyone, but especially not from Amy. You'll be surprised the number of women who still find it a stigma. Ashamed. I can't believe I try never to show up to one of these meetings without new information from a client, he said. I want to show you how serious I am about your case, and how much you need me. This guy could be a suspect? Sure, why not? Tanner said too breezily. He has a violent history with your wife. Did he go to prison? She dropped the charges. I'm getting into like a weird Guys and Dolls accent, but I'm just going to go with it. I don't know how to do that accent. She dropped the charges, didn't want to testify, I assume. If you and I decide to work together, I'll have him checked out. In the meantime, think of anyone who took an interest in your wife. Better if it's someone in Carthage, though. More believable. Now, Tanner crossed a leg, exposed his bottom row of teeth, uncomfortably bunched, and stained in comparison with his perfect picket fence top row. He held his crooked teeth against his upper lip for a moment. Now here comes the harder part, Nick, he said. I need total honesty from you. It won't work any other way. So tell me everything about your marriage. Tell me the worst. Because if I know the worst, then I can plan for it. But if I'm surprised, we're fucked. And if we're fucked, you're fucked. Because I get to fly away in my G4. I took a breath. Looked him in the eyes. I cheated on Amy. I've been cheating on Amy. Okay, with multiple women or just one? No, not multiple. I've never cheated before. So with one woman, Bolt asked, and looked away, his eyes resting on a watercolor of a sailboat as he twirled his wedding band. I could picture him phoning his wife later, saying, just once. I want a guy who's not an asshole. Yes, just one girl. She's very... Don't say girl. Don't ever say girl, Bolt said. Woman. One woman who is very special to you. Is that what you were going to say? Of course it was. He didn't say that out loud. He's thinking, of course it was. I like the voice you're giving him. He is from New York after all. Okay, good. We've got a little twinge to it. Forget about it. Insides and stuff, you never want to, like, do an audition for an accent that you're not, like, completely confident in, that you can retain. So I guess that's why I've never, like, every time I try to do, like, a New York accent, I don't even try, because I'm like, there's specific things, you gotta get it right. But this is good practice for just, like, fucking around. Let's see. Where was I? Oh, of course it was. You know, Nick, special is actually worse than... Okay, how long? A little over a year, Have you spoken to her since Amy went missing? Yes, on a disposable cell phone, and in person once. Twice. But in person. No one has seen us, I can swear to that. Just my sister. He took a breath, looked at the sailboat again. And what is this? What's her name? Andy. What is her attitude about all this? She's been great until the pregnancy announcement. Now I think she's a little on edge. Very on edge. Very needy is the wrong word. Say what you need to say, Nick. If she's needy, then she's needy. Clingy. Needs lots of reassurance. She's a really sweet girl, but she's young, and it's been hard, obviously. Tanner Bolt went to his minibar and pulled out a Clamato. Is it a Clamato? I've never seen that before. The entire fridge was filled with Clamato. He opened the bottle and drank it in 3 swallows, then dabbed his lips with a cloth napkin. You will need to cut off, completely and forever, all contact with Andy, he said. I began to speak, and he aimed a palm at me. Immediately. I can't cut it off with her just like that, out of nowhere. This isn't something to debate, Nick. I mean, come on, buddy. I really gotta say this. You cannot date around while your pregnant wife is missing. You will go to fucking prison. Now the issue is to do it without turning her against us. Without leaving her with a vendetta, an urge to go public, anything but fond memories. Make her believe that this was the decent thing. Make her want to keep you safe. How are you at breakups? I opened my mouth, but he didn't wait. We'll prep you for the conversation the same way we prep you. I'm gonna try that again. We'll prep you for the conversation the same way we'd prep you for a cross exam, okay? Now, if you want me, I'll fly to Missouri. I'll set up camp, and we can really get to work on this. I can be with you as soon as tomorrow if you want me for your lawyer. Do you? I do. Also, guys, in addition to never talking to cops without a lawyer, always be honest. Yeah, my alarm's going off. Always be honest with your lawyer. Tell them everything. Don't lie to them. Yep, that is for sure. Because, you see in all kinds of media. I think, Breaking Bad, I'm pretty sure. Things always come out. I was back in Carthage before dinner time. Pardon me. Try again. I was back in Carthage before dinner time. It was strange. Once Tanner swept Andy from the picture, once it became clear that she simply couldn't stay, how quickly I accepted it, how little I mourned her. On that single 2-hour flight, I transitioned from in love with Andy to not in love with Andy, like walking through a door. Our relationship immediately attained a sepia tone, the past. How odd that I ruined my marriage over that little girl with whom I had nothing in common except that we both liked a good laugh and a cold beer after sex. I hate how you said that, Nick. I hate it. Fuck. I hate it. Nope, don't like it. Of course you're fine with ending it, Go would say. It got hard. Yeah, even your sister fucking knows. But there was a better reason. Amy was blooming large in my mind. She was gone, and yet she was more present than anyone else. I'd fallen in love with Amy because I was the ultimate Nick with her. Loving her made me superhuman. It made me feel alive. At her easiest, she was hard, because her brain was always working. I had to exert myself just to keep pace with her. I spent an hour crafting a casual email to her. I became a student of Arcana so I could keep her interested. The Lake Poets, the Code Duello, the French Revolution. Her mind was both wide and deep, and I got smarter being with her. And more considerate, and more active, and more alive, and almost electric, because for Amy, love was like drugs or booze or porn. There was no plateau. Each exposure needed to be more intense than the last to achieve the same result. Amy made me believe I was exceptional, that I was up to her level of play. That was both our making and undoing, because I couldn't handle the demands of greatness. I began craving ease and averageness, and I hated myself for it. And ultimately, I realized I punished her for it. I turned her into the brittle, prickly thing she became. I had pretended to be one kind of man and revealed myself to be quite another. Worse, I convinced myself our tragedy was entirely her making. I spent years working myself into the very thing I swore she was, a righteous ball of hate. On the flight home, I'd looked at Clue 4 for so long, I'd memorized it. I wanted to torture myself. No wonder her notes were so different this time. My wife was pregnant. She wanted to start over. Return us to our dazzling, happy aliveness. I could picture her running around town to hide those sweet notes, eager as a schoolgirl for me to get to the end. The announcement that she was pregnant with my child. It had to be an old-fashioned cradle. I knew my wife. It had to be an antique cradle. Although the clue wasn't quite in an expectant mother tone. Picture me. I'm a girl who is very bad. I need to be punished, and by punished, I mean had. It's where you store goodies for Anniversary 5. Pardon me if this is getting contrived. A good time was had here right at sunny midday. Then out for a cocktail, all so terribly gay. So run there right now, full of sweet sighs, and open the door for your big surprise. I was almost home when I figured it out. Store goodies for Anniversary 5. Goodies would be something made of wood. To punish is to take someone to the woodshed. It was the woodshed behind my sister's house, a place to stow lawnmower parts and rusty tools, a decrepit old outbuilding, like something from a slasher movie where campers are slowly killed off. Go never went back there. She'd often joke of burning it down since she moved into the house. Instead, she'd let it get even more overgrown and cobwebbed. We'd always joked that it would be a good place to bury a body. It couldn't be. I drove across town, my face numb, my hands cold. Go's car was in the driveway, but I slipped past the glowing living room window and down the steep downhill slope, and I was soon out of her sight range, out of sight of anyone. Very private. Back to the far... they say back twice. Back to the far back of the yard, on the edge of the tree line, there was the shed. I opened the door. No, 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 no. Okay. Here we go. This next part, this book so far has been like this, just a regular book. Oh, and I should also show you. This is what the first part looked like. Gillian Flynn, Gone Girl, with this black. I love the stylistic choice of it. It's black with the text. Then this says Part 1, Boy Loses Girl. Then we get to this section. We're halfway through the book. And it says Part 2, Boy Meets Girl. It's reversed because... Oh, is it? No, it's not. It's front ways. Cool. Okay. Boy Meets Girl. Amy Elliott Dunn. The day of. I am so much happier now that I'm dead. Technically, missing. Soon to be presumed dead. But as shorthand, we'll say dead. It's been only a matter of hours, but I feel better already. Loose joints, wavy muscles. At one point this morning, I realized my face felt strange, different. I looked in the rearview mirror. Dread Carthage, 43 miles behind me. My smug husband lounging around his sticky bar as mayhem dangled on a thin piano wire just above his shitty, oblivious head. And I realized I was smiling. Ha! That's new. My checklist for today, one of many checklists I've made over the past year, sits beside me in the passenger seat. A spot of blood right next to item 22. Cut myself. But Amy is afraid of blood, the diary readers will say. The diary, yes, we'll get to my brilliant diary. No, I'm not. Not a bit. But for the past year, I've been saying I am. I told Nick probably half a dozen times how afraid I am of blood, and when he said, I don't remember you being so afraid of blood. I replied, I've told you so many times. Nick has such a careless memory for other people's problems, he just assumed it was true. Swooning at the plasma center, that was a nice touch. I really did that. I didn't just write that I did. Don't fret, we'll sort this out. The true and the not true and the might as well be true. Item 22. Cut myself has been on the list a long time. Now it's real, and my arms hurts. I'm sorry. Now it's real, and my arm hurts. A lot. It takes a very special discipline to slice oneself past the paper cut layer down to the muscle. You want a lot of blood, but not so much that you pass out, get discovered hours later in a kiddie pool of red with a lot of explaining to do. I held a box cutter to my wrist first, but looking at that crisscross of veins, I felt like a bomb technician in an action movie. Snip the wrong line and you die. I ended up cutting into the inside of my upper arm, gnawing on a rag so I wouldn't scream. One long, deep, good one. I sat cross-legged on my kitchen floor for 10 minutes, letting the blood drizzle steadily until I'd made a nice thick puddle. Then I cleaned it up as poorly as Nick would have done after he bashed my head in. I want the house to tell a story of conflict between true and false. The living room looks staged, yet the blood has been cleaned up. It can't be Amy. So the self-mutilation was worth it. Still, hours later, the slice burns under my sleeves, under the tourniquet. Item 30. Carefully dress wound, ensuring no blood has dripped where it shouldn't be present. Wrap box cutter and tuck away in pocket for later disposal. Item 18. Stage the living room. Tip ottoman. Check. Item 12. Wrap the first clue in its box and tuck it just out of the way so the police will find it before a dazed husband thinks to look for it. It has to be part of the police record. I want him to be forced to start the treasure hunt. His ego will make him finish it. Check. Item 32. Chained into generic clothes, tuck hair in hat, climb down the banks of the river, and scuttle along the edge, the water lapping inches below, until you reach the edge of the complex. Do this, even though you know the Teverers, the only neighbors with a view of the river, will be at church. Do this because you never know. You always take the extra step that others don't. That's who you are. Item 29. Say goodbye to Bleecker. Smell his little stinky cat breath one last time. Fill his kibble dish in case people forget to feed him once everything starts. Item 33. Get the fuck out of Dodge. Check, check, check. Amy was the murderer the whole time? Yup, we got it. Cha-ching. I can tell you more about how I did everything, but I'd like you to know me first. Not Diary Amy, who is a work of fiction. And Nick said I wasn't really a writer. And why did I ever listen to him? But me, actual Amy. What kind of woman would do such a thing? Let me tell you a story, a true story, so you can begin to understand. To start, I should never have been born. My mother had 5 miscarriages and 2 stillborns before me. Once a year, in the fall, as if it were a seasonal duty, like crop rotation. They were all girls. They were all named Hope. I'm sure it was my father's suggestion, his optimistic impulse, his tie-dyed earnestness. We can't give up hope, Mary Beth. But give up hope is exactly what they did, over and over again. The doctors ordered my parents to stop trying. They refused. They are not quitters. They tried, and finally came me. My mother didn't count on my being alive, couldn't bear to think of me as an actual baby, a living child, a girl who would get to come home. I would have been Hope 8 if things had gone badly. But I entered the world hollering an electric neon pink. My parents were surprised, so they realized they'd never discussed a name, not a real one, for a real child. For my first 2 days in the hospital, they didn't name me. Each morning my mother would hear the door to her room open and feel the nurse lingering in the doorway. I always pictured her vintage, with swaying white skirts, and one of those folded caps like a Chinese takeout box. The nurse would linger, and my mother would ask without even looking up, "Is she still alive?" When I remained alive, they named me Amy, because it was a regular girl's name, a popular girl's name, a name 1,000 other baby girls were given that year. So maybe the gods wouldn't notice this little baby nestled among the others. Mary Beth said if she were to do it again, she'd name me Lydia. I grew up feeling special, proud. I was the girl who battled oblivion and won. The chances were about 1%, but I did it. I ruined my mother's womb in the process, my own prenatal Sherman's March. Mary Beth would never have another baby. As a child, I got a vibrant pleasure out of this. Just me, only me. My mother would sip hot tea on the days of the hopes, births, deaths, sit in a rocker with a blanket, and and say she was just taking a little time for myself. Nothing dramatic. My mother was too sensible to sing dirges, but she would get pensive, she would remove herself, and I would have none of it. Needful thing that I was. I would clamber onto my mother's lap, or thrust a crayon drawing in her face, or remember a permission slip that needed prompt attention. My father would try to distract me, try to take me to a movie, or bribe me with sweets. No matter the ruse, it didn't work. I wouldn't give my mother those few minutes. I've always been better than the hopes. I was the one who made it. But I've always been jealous, too, always. 7 dead dancing princesses. They get to be perfect without even trying, without even facing one moment of existence, while I am stuck here on Earth, and every day I must try, and every day is a chance to be less than perfect. It's an exhausting way to live. I lived that way until I was 31, and then for about 2 years, everything was okay. Because of Nick. Nick loved me. A 6-0 kind of love. He loved me. But he didn't love me. Nick loved a girl who doesn't exist. I was pretending, the way I often did, pretending to have a personality. I can't help it, it's what I've always done. The way some women change fashion regularly, I change personalities. What persona feels good? What's coveted? What's au courant? I think most people do this, they just don't want to admit it. Or else they settle on one persona because they're too lazy or stupid to pull off a switch. Bleecker is the real victim in this. That poor cat. I was guessing it was. You were guessing it was a miscarriage because of the blood, and she ran away. Yeah, that's good. A good red herring of some like. I would have assumed that as well if I hadn't seen the movie first. Because when you find out she's pregnant, Amy is sounding like a Metal Gear villain. Hell yeah. That night at the Brooklyn party, I was playing the girl who was in style, the girl a man like Nick wants, the cool girl. Men always say that as the defining compliment, don't they? She's a cool girl. Okay. I thought I heard something on my computer. It was just something in the hallway. Let's see. She's a cool girl. Being the cool girl means I am a hot, brilliant, funny woman who adores football, poker, dirty jokes, and burping, who plays video games, drinks cheap beer, loves threesomes and anal sex, and jams hot dogs and hamburgers into her mouth like she's hosting the world's biggest culinary gangbang while somehow maintaining a size 2, because cool girls are above all hot. Hot and understanding. Cool girls never get angry. They only smile in a chagrined, loving manner and let their men do whatever they want. Go ahead, shit on me, I don't mind, I'm the cool girl. Men actually think this girl exists. Maybe they're fooled because so many women are willing to pretend to be this girl. For a long time, cool girl offended me. I used to see men, friends, co-workers, strangers, giddy over these awful pretender women, and I'd want to sit these men down and calmly say, you are not dating a woman. You are dating a woman who has watched too many movies written by socially awkward men who'd like to believe that this kind of woman exists and might kiss them. I'd want to grab the poor guy by his lapels or messenger bag and say, "The bitch doesn't really love chili dogs that much. No one loves chili dogs that much." And the cool girls are even more pathetic. They're not even pretending to be the woman they want to be. They're pretending to be the woman a man wants them to be. Oh, and if you're not a cool girl, I beg you not to believe that your man doesn't want the cool girl. It may be a slightly different version. Maybe he's a vegetarian, so cool girl loves Sidon and is great with dogs. Or maybe he's a hipster artist, so cool girl is a tattooed, bespectacled nerd who loves comics. There are variations to the window dressing, but believe me, he wants cool girl, who is basically the girl who likes every fucking thing he likes and doesn't ever complain. How do you know you're not cool girl? Because he says things like, "I like strong women." If he says that to you, he will at some point fuck someone else, because "I like strong women" is code for "I hate strong women." I waited patiently, years, for the pendulum to swing the other way, for men to start reading Jane Austen, learn how to knit, pretend to love cosmos, organize scrapbook parties, and make out with each other while we leer, and then we'd say, "Yeah, he's a cool guy." But it never happened. Instead, women across the nation colluded in our degradation. Pretty soon, cool girl became the standard girl. Men believed she existed. She wasn't just a dream girl, one in a million. Every girl was supposed to be this girl, and if you weren't, then there was something wrong with you. But it's tempting to be cool girl. For someone like me, who likes to win, it's tempting to want to be the girl every guy wants. When I met Nick, I knew immediately that was what he wanted, and for him, I guess I was willing to try. I will accept my portion of blame. The thing is, I was crazy about him at first. I found him perversely exotic, a good old Missouri boy. He was so damn nice to be around. He teased things out of me that I didn't know existed, a lightness, a humor and ease. It was as if he hollowed me out and filled me with feathers. He helped me be cool girl. I couldn't have been cool girl with anyone else. I wouldn't have wanted to. I can't say I didn't enjoy some of it. I ate a moon pie. I walked barefoot. I stopped worrying. I watched dumb movies and ate chemically laced foods. I didn't think past the first step of anything. That was the key. I drank a Coke and didn't worry about how to recycle the can or about the acid puddling in my belly, acid so powerful it could strip clean a penny. We went to a dumb movie and I didn't worry about the offensive sexism or the lack of minorities in meaningful roles. I didn't even worry whether the movie made sense. I didn't worry about anything that came next. Nothing had consequence. I was living in the moment, and I could feel myself getting shallower and dumber, but also happy. Until Nick, I never really felt like a person, because I was always a product. Amazing Amy has to be brilliant, creative, kind, thoughtful, witty, and happy. We just want you to be happy. Rand and Mary Beth said that all the time, but they never explained how. So many lessons and opportunities and advantages, and they never taught me how to be happy. I remember always being baffled by other kids. I would be at a birthday party and watch the other kids giggling and making faces, and I would try to do that too, but I wouldn't understand why. I would sit there with the tight elastic thread of the birthday hat. I would sit there with the tight elastic thread of the birthday hat parting the pudge of my underchin, with the grainy frosting of the cake bluing my teeth, and I would try to figure out why it was fun. With Nick, I understood finally, because he was so much fun. It was like dating a sea otter. He was the first naturally happy person I met who was my equal. He was brilliant and gorgeous and funny and charming and charmed. People liked him. Women loved him. I thought we would be the most perfect union, the happiest couple around. Not that love is a competition, but I don't understand the point of being together if you're not the happiest. I was probably happier for those few years, pretending to be someone else, than I ever have been before or after. I can't decide what that means. But then it had to stop, because it wasn't real, it wasn't me. It wasn't me, Nick. I thought you knew. I thought it was a bit of a game. I thought we had a wink wink, don't ask, don't tell thing going. I tried so hard to be easy, but it wasn't unsustainable. Turned out he couldn't sustain his side either. The witty banter, the clever games, the romance, and the wooing, it all started collapsing on itself. I hated Nick for being surprised when I became me. I hated him for not knowing it had to end, for truly believing he had married this creature, this figment of the imagination of a million masturbatory men, semen-fingered and self-satisfied. He truly seemed astonished when I asked him to listen to me. He couldn't believe I didn't love wax stripping my pussy raw and blowing him on request, that I did mind when he didn't show up for drinks with my friends. That ludicrous diary entry? I don't need pathetic dancing monkey scenarios to repeat to my friends. I am content with letting him be himself. That was pure dumb cool girl bullshit. What a cunt. Again, I don't get it. If you let a man cancel plans or decline to do things for you, you lose. You don't get what you want. It's pretty clear. Sure, he may be happy. He may say you're the coolest girl ever, but he's saying it because he got his way. He's calling you a cool girl to fool you. That's what men do. They try to make it sound like you are the cool girl, so you will bow to their wishes. Like a car salesman saying, "How much do you want to pay for this beauty?" when you didn't agree to buy it yet. That awful phrase men use. I mean, I know you wouldn't mind if I... Yes, I do mind. Just say it. Don't lose, you dumb little twat. So it had to stop. Committing to Nick, feeling safe with Nick, being happy with Nick, made me realize there was a real Amy in there, and she was so much better, more interesting and complicated and challenging than cool Amy. Nick wanted cool Amy anyway. Can you imagine finally showing your true self to your spouse, your soulmate, and having him not like you? So that's how the hating first began. I've thought about this a lot, and that's where it started, I think. Oh, God. Love it. Really, really powerful shit. I just want to make a note in my Gone Girl video scripperoonie about... I'll say it out loud to y'all first. So it's very interesting. The book starts with a Nick chapter. You know, it's part one, boy loses girl. It starts with a Nick chapter, and then we end on a Nick chapter during that first part of the book. So it starts on an Amy chapter, and Amy is finally in charge of the narrative. But when we start with Nick. Dope. Ooh, sorry about that. I should not have done that in the microphone. Ooh. All right. I knew the waxing pussy line was going to be somewhere in there. Because it is... Amy's monologue in Gone Girl the movie is one of my favorite monologues in anything ever. After we finish the book, I recommend seeing the movie because Rosamund Pike, I think her name is, she delivers that monologue so fucking well. I adore that monologue. And there is a line about I did this, and this. I wax stripped my pussy raw. I did the, you know, like just like this list of, and it's very cathartic because as someone who was assigned female at birth, I had to grow up with all of the shit that Amy is talking about. This like image of the cool girl, the perfect, you know, ideal girlfriend who just doesn't argue with you and is like likes everything that you like, and it's like semen fingered is, yeah, it's a very good. I've never heard anyone say semen fingered before. I mostly came to follow you on Twitch, plan to go to bed, but this is intriguing. Hell yeah. Might as well, you know? A lot of people say that they just kind of put me on in the background while they're, like, getting ready for bed. And I just, like, read to them, or I play Stardew Valley or something, which is totally cool. So Amy is a sociopath. That's interesting. I'm not sure yet. As someone who's only seen the movie, I get very different reads from people who have read the book. people who've read the book have a very different opinion of Amy, Nick, and Desi. Uh, so I actually don't know what Book Amy is or what she's like. Uh, so far, I feel like there are a few hints of sociopathy, but I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure I want to form an opinion yet. Um, I do see where you're coming from though, because like as I was reading, uh, like movie Amy is less sociopathic, if that makes sense. But because we're getting a lot more of her internal thoughts, uh, as I was reading, I was like, oh, this is a little bit of a different Amy than the movie would suggest, and that's really interesting because in the movie, you never get to hear Nick's thoughts. It's always from Nick's outside perspective of what he says out loud and his actions, and you have to decipher things through that. But in the movie Gone Girl, it starts with the line, I am so much happier now that I'm dead. And Amy has this little monologue of inner thoughts. So we get to see what she's actually thinking. And then you'll see where it's going. But she starts kind of, it does the same thing about Nick, where you just hear what Amy is saying out loud and you don't get to hear her inner thoughts anymore. But now that this is the book, we will get to hear her inner thoughts, and I'm curious what that's going to be like. I don't know if I've been playing too much Batman, but something about Amy talking about her real personality and the facade she puts on makes me imagine her as Two-Face. Yeah, that's interesting. It's very interesting that like, um, from reading that chapter, like I said, Gone Girl means different people to Gone Girl means different things to different people. If you have grown up assigned female at birth, you get a very different read on the book. For example, most of the things in there, an assigned male at birth person might hear that and be like, "Oh, that's insane." But me as a assigned female at birth who had to grow up with all this shit, I read that and was like, "Yeah, that's what it is. We have to like pretend to be this person so that guys will like us. Don't you know that?" That's like very basic information to me, but not to everyone else. Um, were you kind of media, magazines, everything that's like targeted at assigned female at birth people growing up in romance movies, rom coms, like everything, it kind of makes you feel like, well, you have to settle a little. So we're kind of taught to be someone different, to deal with, like she talks about, pretending to like things that we don't, because otherwise guys won't give us the time of day. And once you get older, you meet guys who have matured, but when you are used to them being at a certain age, and like teenagers, like if you're a teenage, uh, let's say you're a teenage girl in high school with teenage boys don't know what the fuck they're doing and will just like not talk to you or not hang out with you if they're cool and they're like popular, uh, unless you can, unless they can get something from you, I suppose. You know, you know what I mean. We've seen cartoons. We've gone to high school. So there's some deception on her side of the relationship as well. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, Nick is definitely at fault, but she can't be like, I married him while pretending to be someone else. It turns out we're incompatible and say she has no fault in it at all. Yeah, exactly. Like she says, I will. She has a line where she's like, I know I'm to blame, for this as well. I will accept my part of the. Where was it? I forget where that is. It's not there. It's. could have sworn it was on the right part of on the right side of a page. Amy, where did you say it? Oh, here we go. Um, yeah, but it's tempting to be cool girl. For someone like me who wants to win, it's tempting to be the girl every guy wants. When I met Nick, I knew immediately that was what he wanted. And for him, I guess I was willing to try. I would accept my portion of blame. The thing is, I was crazy about him at first. I found him perversely exotic, a good old Missouri boy. He was so damn nice to be around. He teased things out of me that I didn't know existed, a lightness, a humor, and ease. Yeah, so it's like you meet a guy and you like him so much that you're willing to compromise and you're willing to be that person that he wants. And then later you're like, hey, this is me. I'm, you know. But the thing is, like, yeah, there's like, it's so complicated because, yes, you can't just pretend to be another person and then be surprised when someone doesn't like you. Um, but, sorry, I'm getting distracted by there's a little squeaky noise coming from my fan. God, what was I even saying? See, when my friends have talked to me about like, we've talked about autism and Asperger's and stuff. They've been like, I think you might have a mild case of it because of this, this, and this. And that's one of those things is I have sensory overload sometimes where like if something else is going on, I just like stop functioning. It's not even a very bothersome noise. Um, oh God, what was I saying? What was I saying? Now that I know the noise exists, I can't stop it. Um, okay, talk it out, Jesse. Yes, on one hand, Amy pretended to be another person because Nick is a piece of shit, but she liked him, you know, and like, oh, okay, I'm willing to like be cool girl for you. And then they get married, and then she's like slowly slipping more into her own personality. So you can't be mad at him for not liking that personality. But the thing is, Amy is like her regular personality is super cool and awesome. It's just that uh, Nick wanted a perfect girl that didn't argue with him and didn't like, you know, that was easy. And relationships don't have to be hard, and like we can just you can just do whatever I want all the time and like all the things that I like, and then that will be our life, okay? So there's, you know, it's a complicated issue. Oh, which part was that? Where she was literally trying to provoke him? Are you talking about the I'm not sure which part you're talking about. Is it the dinner thing? Well, this is the first time we've actually really met Amy. Yeah. We get to like actually see what she's like. Might take you a bit to type out, so I might pick up the book again. I'll continue reading, and then if you want to bring it up, we can talk about it. Let's see. Oh, here it is. Uh, didn't you get all up in his face to try and get him to do something? I don't remember that. Was that from a diary entry or? I think that was in a diary entry. Maybe. Are you talking about when he pushes her or? Diary entry. Well, I don't want to spoil, but let's keep reading, and we will talk about that later. Nick Dunn. 7 days gone. I made it a few steps into the woodshed before I had to lean against the wall and catch my breath. I knew it was going to be bad. I knew it once I figured out the clue. Woodshed. Midday fun. Cocktails. Because that description was not me and Amy, it was me and Andy. The woodshed was just one of many strange places where I had had sex with Andy. We were restricted in our meeting spots. Her busy apartment complex was mostly a no-go. Motels show up on credit cards, and my wife was neither trusting nor stupid. Andy had a MasterCard, but the statement went to her mom. It hurts me to admit that. So the woodshed deep behind my sister's house was very safe when Go was at work. Likewise, my father's abandoned home. Maybe you feel guilty for bringing me here. I must admit, it felt a bit queer, but it's not like we had the choice of many a place. We made the decision. We made this our space. Oh, I see. Oh no, wait, is that... Okay, these are... He's quoting from the from Amy's clues. And a few times, my office at school. I pictured myself as your student, with a teacher so handsome and wise. My mind opens up, not to mention my thighs. And once Andy's car, pulled down a dirt road in Hannibal after I'd taken her for a visit one day. A much more satisfying reenactment of my banal field trip with Amy. You took me here so I could hear you chat about your boyhood adventures, crummy jeans, and visor hat. Each clue was hidden in a space where I'd cheated on Amy. She'd used the treasure hunt to take me on a tour of all my infidelities. I had a shimmer of nausea as I pictured Amy trailing I had a shimmer of nausea as I pictured Amy trailing oblivious me in her car to my dad's, to Go's, to goddamn Hannibal, watching me fuck this sweet young girl, my wife's lips twisting in disgust and triumph, because she knew she'd punish me good. Now at our final stop, Amy was ready for me to know how clever she was. Because the woodshed was packed with about every gizmo and gadget that I swore to Boney and Gilpin I hadn't bought with the credit cards I swore I didn't know anything about. The insanely expensive golf clubs were here, the watches and game consoles, the designer clothes, they were all sitting here, in wait on my sister's property, where it looked like I'd stored them until my wife was dead and I could have a little fun. I knocked on Go's front door, and when she answered, smoking a cigarette, I told her I had to show her something. And I turned around and led her without a word to the woodshed. Look, I said, and ushered her toward the open door. Is that all the stuff from the credit cards? Let me try that again because there's a direction afterwards. Is that all the stuff from the credit cards? Go's voice went high and wild. She put one hand to her mouth and took a step back from me. And I realized that just for a second, she thought I was making a confession to her. We'd never be able to undo it, that moment. For that alone, I hated my wife. Amy's framing me, Go, I said. Go, Amy bought this stuff. She's framing me. She snapped to. Her eyelids clicked once, twice, and she gave a tiny shake of her head as if to rid herself of the image, Nick as wife killer. Amy's framing me for her murder, right? Her last clue, it led me right here, and no, I didn't know about any of this stuff. It's her grand statement. Presenting, Nick goes to jail. A huge burpy air bubble formed at the back of my throat. I was going to sob or laugh. I laughed. I mean, right? Holy fuck, right? So hurry up, get going, please do, and this time I'll teach you a thing or two. The final words of Amy's first clue, how did I not see it? If she's framing you, why let you know? Go was still staring, transfixed by the contents of her shed. Because she's done it so perfectly. She always needed that validation, the praise, all the time. She wants me to know I'm being fucked. She couldn't resist. It would be fun for her otherwise. No, Go said, chewing on a nail. There's something else, something more. Have you touched anything in here? No. Good. Then the question becomes, what does she think I'll do when I find this incriminating evidence on my sister's property? I said. That's the question. Because whatever she assumes I'll do, whatever she wants me to do, I have to do the opposite. If she thinks I'll freak out and try to get rid of all this stuff, I guarantee you she has a way I'll get busted with it. Well, you can't leave it here, Go said. You'll definitely get busted that way. Are you sure that was the last clue? Where's your present? Oh, shit. No, it must be inside somewhere. Don't go in there, Go said. I have to. God knows what else she's got in store. I stepped carefully into the dank shed. Hell yeah. Keeping my hands tight by my sides, walking delicately on tiptoes so as to not leave tread marks. Just past a flat-screen TV, Amy's blue envelope sat on top of a huge gift box, wrapped in her beautiful silvery paper. I took the envelope and the box back outside in the warm air. The object inside the package was heavy, a good 30 pounds, and broke it into several pieces that slid with a strange rattle as I set the box on the ground at our feet. Go took an involuntary quick step away from it. I slid open the envelope. Darling husband, now is when I take the time to tell you that I know you better than you could ever imagine. I know sometimes you think you are moving through this world alone, unseen, unnoticed. But don't believe that for a second. I have made a study of you. I know what you are going to do before you do it. I know where you've been, and I follow where you're going. For this anniversary, I've arranged a trip. Follow your beloved river up, up, up. And you don't even have to worry about trying to find your anniversary present. This time the present will come to you. So sit back and relax, because you are done. What? Oh, let's go. What's up river? Go asked, and then I groaned. She's sending me up the river. Fuck her. Open the box. I knelt down and nudged off the lid with my fingertips, as if expecting an explosion. Silence. I peered inside. At the bottom of the box lay 2 wooden puppets side by side. They seemed to be husband and wife. The male was dressed in motley and grinning rabidly, holding a cane or a stick. I pulled the husband figure out, his limbs bouncing around excitedly, a dancer limbering up. The wife was prettier, more delicate, and stiffer. Her face looked shocked, as if she'd seen something alarming. Beneath her was a tiny baby that could be attached to her by a ribbon. The Muppets were ancient, heavy, and large, almost as big as ventriloquist dummies. I picked up the male, gripped the thick, club-like handle used to move him, and his arms and legs twitched manically. Creepy, Go said. Stop. Beneath them lay a piece of buttery blue paper folded over once. Amy's broken kite handwriting, all triangles and points. It read, The beginning of a wonderful new story, Nick. That's the way to do it. Enjoy. On our mom's kitchen table, we spread all of Amy's treasure hunt clues and the box containing the puppets. We stared at the objects as if we were assembling a jigsaw puzzle. Why bother with a treasure hunt if she was planning her plan? Go said. Her plan had become immediate shorthand for faking her disappearance and framing you for murder. It sounded less insane. Keep me distracted, for one thing. Make me believe she still loved me. I'm chasing her little clues all over Christendom. Believing my wife was wanting to make amends, wanting to jumpstart our marriage. The moony, girlish state her notes had left me in, it sickened me. It embarrassed me. Marrow-deep embarrassment, the kind that becomes part of your DNA, that changes you. After all these years, Amy could still play me. She could write a few notes and get me back in completely. I was her little puppet on a string. I will find you, Amy. Lovesick words, hateful intentions. So I don't stop to think, hey, it sure looks like I murdered my wife. I wonder why. And the police would have found it strange. You would have found it strange if she didn't do the treasure hunt, this tradition, Go reasoned. It would look as if she knew she was going to disappear. This worries me, though, I said, pointing at the puppets. They're unusual enough that they have to mean something. I mean, if she just wanted to keep me distracted for a while, the final gift could have been anything, wouldn't? Go ran a finger across the male's motley uniform. They're clearly very old, vintage. She flipped their clothing upside down to reveal the club handle of the male. The female had only a square-shaped gap at her hand. Is this supposed to be sexual? The male has this giant wooden handle, like a dick, and the female's missing hers? She just has the hole. It's a fairly obvious statement. Men have penises and women have vaginas? Go put a finger inside the female puppet's gap, swept around to make sure there was nothing hidden. So what is Amy saying? When I first saw them, I thought she bought children's toys. Mom, dad, baby, because she was pregnant? Is she even pregnant? A sense of despair washed over me, or rather the opposite. Not a wave coming in, rolling over me, but the ebb of the sea returning, a sense of something pulling away, and me with it. I could no longer hope my wife was pregnant, but I couldn't bring myself to hope she wasn't either. Go pulled out the male doll, scrunched her nose, then light bulb popped. You're a puppet on a string. I laughed. I literally thought those exact words, too. But why a male and female? Amy clearly isn't a puppet on a string. She's the puppet master. And that's the way to do it. To do what? Fuck me for life? It's not a phrase Amy used to say? Or some quote from the Amy books? Or... She hurried over to her computer and searched for That's the Way to Do It. Up came lyrics for That's the Way to Do It by Madness. Oh, I remember them, Go said. Awesome ska band. Ska, I said, swerving toward delirious laughter. Great. The lyrics were about a handyman who could do many types of home improvement jobs, including electrical and plumbing, and who preferred to be paid in cash. God, I fucking hate the 80s, I said. No lyrics ever made sense. The reflex is an only child, Go said, nodding. He's waiting by the park, I muttered back automatically. So if this is it, what does it mean? Go said, turning to me, studying my eyes. It's a song about a handyman. Someone who might have access to your house to fix things or rig things. Who would be paid in cash so there's no record? Someone who installed video cameras? I asked. Amy went out of town a few times during the affair. Maybe she thought she'd catch us on tape. Go shot a question at me. No, never. Never at our house. Could it be some secret door? Go suggested. Some secret false panel Amy put in where she's hidden something that will, I don't know, exonerate you? I think that's it, yeah. Yes, Amy is using a Madness song to give me a clue to my own freedom. If only I can decipher their wily ska-infused codes. Go laughed then, too. Jesus, maybe we're the ones who are batshit crazy. I mean, are we? Is this totally insane? It's not insane. She set me up. There is no other way to explain the warehouse of stuff in your backyard, and it's very Amy to drag you into it, smudge you a little with my filth. No, this is Amy. The gift, the fucking giddy sly note I'm supposed to understand. No, and it has to come back to the puppets. Try the quote with the word marionettes. I collapsed on the couch, my body a dull throb. Go played secretary. Oh my god, duh! They're Punch and Judy dolls. Nick, we're idiots. That line, that's Punch's trademark. That's the way to do it. Okay, the old puppet show, it's really violent, right? I asked. This is so fucked up. Go, it's violent, right? Yeah, violent. God, she's fucking crazy. He beats her, right? I'm reading. Okay, Punch kills their baby. She looked up at me. And then when Judy confronts him, he beats her to death. My throat got wet with saliva. And each time he does something awful and gets away with it, he says that's the way to do it. She grabbed Punch and placed him in her lap. her fingers grasping the wooden hands as if she were holding an infant. He's glib even as he murders his wife and child. I looked at the puppets. So she's giving me the narrative of my frame-up. I can't even wrap my brain around this fucking psycho. Go. Yeah, right. You didn't want her to be pregnant, you got angry and killed her and the unborn baby. Feels anticlimactic somehow, I said. The climax is when you are taught the lesson that Punch never learns, and you are caught and charged with murder. And Missouri has the death penalty, I said. Fun game. Yeah, Nick, tell your lawyer. Tell your lawyer. Tell your lawyer. Whew. Amy Elliott Dunn. The day of. You know how I found out? I saw... Damon Fable! Hey, thank you so much for the follow. Really appreciate it. Dropping in the... Boop, in the cup. I'm really glad I made the follows little Khaleesi heads. They're very cute. And when I get like a shit ton of follows in a row, it just like fills the whole cup with like little cat heads. Where is she? There she is. You can't see her. Can you? She's right there. That's where she is. That little black lump. Amy Elliott Dunn. The day of. You know how I found out? I saw them. That's how stupid my husband is. One snowy April night, I felt so lonely. I was drinking warm amaretto with Bleecker and reading, lying on the floor as the snow came down, listening to old scratchy albums, like Nick and I used to. That entry was true. I had a burst of romantic cheer. I'd surprise him at the bar, and we'd have a few drinks and wander through the empty streets together, hand in mitten. We would walk around the hushed downtown, and he would press me against a wall and kiss me in the snow that looked like sugar clouds. That's right. I wanted him back so badly that I was willing to recreate that moment. I was willing to pretend to be someone else again. I remember thinking, we could still find a way to make this work. Faith. I followed him all the way to Missouri, because I still believed he'd love me again somehow. Love me that intense, thick way he did, the way that made everything good. Faith. I got there just in time to see him leaving with her. I was in the goddamn parking lot 20 feet behind him, and he didn't even register me. I was a ghost. He didn't have his hands on her, not yet, but I knew. I could tell because he was so aware of her. I followed them, and suddenly he pressed her up against a tree in the middle of town and kissed her. Nick is cheating, I thought dumbly, and before I could make myself say anything, they were going up to her apartment. I waited for an hour, sitting on the doorstep, then got too cold. Blue fingernails, chattering teeth, and went home. He never even knew I knew. I had a new persona, not of my choosing. I was average dumb woman married to average shitty man. He had single-handedly de-amazed amazing Amy. I know women whose entire personas are woven from a benign mediocrity. Their lives are a list of shortcomings. The unappreciative boyfriends, the extra 10 pounds, the dismissive boss, the conniving sister, the straying husband. I've always hovered above their stories, nodding in sympathy and thinking how foolish they are, these women, to let these things happen, how undisciplined. And now to be one of them, one of the women with the endless stories that make people nod sympathetically and think, poor dumb bitch. I could hear the tale, how everyone would love telling it. How amazing Amy, the girl who never did wrong, let herself be dragged, penniless, to the middle of the country, where her husband threw her over for a younger woman. How predictable, how perfectly average, how amusing. And her husband? He ended up happier than ever. No, I couldn't allow that. No, never, never. He doesn't get to do this to me and still fucking win. No. I changed my name for that piece of shit. Historical records have been altered. Amy Elliott to Amy Dunn. like it's nothing. No, he does not get to win. So I began to think of a different story, a better story, that would destroy Nick for doing this to me. A story that would restore my perfection. It would make me the hero, flawless and adored. Because everyone loves the dead girl. It's rather extreme, framing your husband for your murder. I want you to know I know that. All the tut-tutters out there will say, she should have just left, bundled up what remained of her dignity, take the high road, 2 wrongs don't make a right. All those things that spineless women say, confusing their weakness with morality. I won't divorce him because that's exactly what he'd like. And I won't forgive him because I don't like turning the other cheek. Can I make it any more clear? I won't find that a satisfactory ending. The bad guy wins? Fuck him. For over a year now, I've smelled her twat on his fingertips as he slipped into bed next to me. I've watched him ogle himself in the mirror, grooming himself like a horny baboon for their dates. I've listened to his lies, from simplistic child's fibs to elaborate Rube Goldbergain, Goldbergain, I don't know this last name, Rube Goldbergian contraptions. I don't know. I've tasted butterscotch on his dry kiss lips, a cloying flavor that was never there before. I felt the stubble on his cheeks that he knows I don't like, but apparently she does. I have suffered betrayal with all 5 senses for over a year. So I may have gone a bit mad. I do know that framing your husband for your murder is beyond the pale of what an average woman might do. But it's so very necessary. Nick must be taught a lesson. He's never been taught a lesson. He glides through life with that charming Nicky grin, his beloved child entitlement, his fibs and shirkings, his shortcomings and selfishness, and no one calls him on anything. I think this experience will make him a better person, or at least a sorrier one. Fucker. Oh, that's interesting, yeah, because, she says, I won't divorce him because that's exactly what he'd like. And that is what Nick was thinking. He was like, I'll just fuck her up enough that she will leave me. Because that's what he wants. He wants to be the good guy. That's cool that they called back to that. Because Amy's very smart. She's not dumb. Though in the, I should note that actually. A difference between the book and the movie is that Amy bleeds in different ways. In the book, in the movie, Amy goes to do the. I don't want to spoil what that is yet or how she gets certain things, but she's at a place, medical place. And while she's in there giving a test result, she grabs, what is it called? The thing that you get, an IV. She grabs like an IV and a bag and all of that. And that's how she bleeds in the kitchen in the movie. She like actually puts it in her arm, gets out enough blood, smears it on the floor, and then cleans it up quickly and sloppily like Nick would. In this book, she talks about having a box cutter. And then she couldn't use the box cutter, so she uses a knife of some kind to cut like her upper arm. Are you sure this isn't just actually about Ben Affleck? No, Ben Affleck is absolutely perfect casting for Nick. I love all the casting in the movie because they describe Nick as like that perfect Missouri boy who's like handsome but like looks like kind of a dick. I'm gonna note that too. Casting is good. I do enjoy. I like what they're doing with Tanner Bolts, but I do also like Tyler Perry as him. She's too competitive in this though. He's already broke. She could ruin him by confronting and divorcing him, taking all he has. She could, but the point that she makes is, but it's so very necessary. Nick must be taught a lesson. He's never been taught a lesson. He glides through life with that charming Nicky grin, his beloved child entitlement, his fibs and shirkings, his shortcomings and selfishness, and no one calls him on anything. Oh yeah, and then she says, I think this experience will make him a better person, or at least a sorrier one. Fuck her. I've, had people close to me like that who just don't learn a lesson. So I understand the feeling of it, because even if you do confront people like this, they're just like, I'm sorry, and then they just do it again. So I understand her going a bit mad. She does say, I've gone a bit mad. It's just being in that home with him every day and like having to deal with all that shit. Like, she's having a bit of a break, but she never fails to let us know this is a crazy thing she's doing. Dude, I love your shirt. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I love this tank. It's real good. I got it on Into the AM, I think. I just got another one from them that is black with blue roses and a different kind of pattern. But I really like this tag. I hope she murders Andy. I mean, Andy doesn't deserve it. She's Andy's a dumb kid, doesn't deserve to die. Yeah, yeah. It's like I was saying before, I think Andy is just young. Like, Nick was supposed to be the adult and say, no, we shouldn't do this. But Andy, I think, has just been, like I was saying before, about dealing with dudes that are just like not mature and they want cool girl. And I think Andy's emulating what she thinks men want. So and she's had to deal with that for so long, and now she sees Nick, who is successful and all these things, and just wants a guy who isn't a piece of shit. And you know what? I really gained respect for Andy when she started getting skittish when it was revealed that Amy was pregnant. Because I don't think Andy is stupid. I think she's just young. I think she's just like, hey, I'm mad at you, Nick. Like, she's understandably pissed. Hmm. Yeah. We'll see. I'm not going to spoil. Let's continue. I've always thought I could commit the perfect murder. People who get caught because they don't have patience. They refuse to plan. I smile again as I shift my crappy getaway car into fifth gear, Carthage now 78 miles in the dust, and brace myself for a speeding truck. The car seems ready to take flight every time a semi passes, but I do smile, because this car shows just how smart I am. Purchased for $1,200 cash from a Craigslist posting. 1,200. I'm an idiot and I always get it confused. 12,000 or 1,200. $1,200. How much is that actually? Because 1,200 and 12,000 are different numbers. It's 12,000, 1,200. It's 1,200. This is one of those things. There are a few things that trip me up that like normal people just get right away. And this is one of the stupid ones where I'm like, how much is actually $1,200? 1,200? Yeah, thank you. Because I was thinking it was 1,200, but that's very cheap for a car. But she did it. I guess it is Missouri. She found a car for $1,200. And for some reason, I've always been very, very not good when it comes to math. I failed like 2 college math classes. I've always been very, very bad at math, but I excelled in everything on the other side of the brain, all the English shit. I was like a prodigy. And then everything else, I was like, hey, Jesse's very stupid, not working today. So that's something that always, I should be a downer and say I'll never get it, but it trips me up every time. I still haven't been able to get it at age 27. All right, let's see. Okay, so she bought the car in cash. $1,200. 5 months ago, so the memory wouldn't be fresh in anyone's mind. A 1992 Ford Festiva. Oh, 1992 is when I was born. A 1992 Ford Festiva, the tiniest, most forgettable car in the world. Ooh, I want to look that up actually. 1992. 1992 Ford Festiva. Because I've never actually seen the car, but they do it. Yeah, that is a very forgettable car. I think that is the exact car Amy has in the movie. That's awesome. Just like one of those little boxy cars that looks like it's from the 90s, because it is. I met the sellers at night in the parking lot of a Walmart in Jonesboro, Arkansas. I took the train down with a bundle of cash in my purse, 8 hours each way, while Nick was on a boys' trip. And by boys' trip, I mean fucking the slut. I ate in the train's dining car, a clump of lettuce with 2 cherry tomatoes that the menu described as a salad. I was seated with a melancholy farmer returning home after visiting his baby granddaughter for the first time. The couple selling the Ford seemed as interested in discretion as I. The woman remained in the car the whole time, a pacified toddler in her arms, watching her husband and me trade cash for keys. That is the correct grammar, you know. Her husband and me. Then she got out and I got in. That quick. In the rearview mirror, I saw the couple strolling into Walmart with their money. I've been parking it in long-term lots in St. Louis. I go down twice a month and park it somewhere new. Pay cash. Wear a baseball cap. Easy enough. That's interesting. Just that she says, the woman remained in the car the whole time, a pacified toddler in her arms, watching her husband and me trade I keep fucking it up, I'm sorry. Watching her husband and me trade cash for keys. That is the correct grammar, you know. Her husband and me. That's in parentheses. So it like she didn't need to say that, but she wanted us to know that the grammar was correct. That's a very interesting Amy thing. So that's just an example of patience, planning, and ingenuity. I am pleased with myself. I have 3 hours more until I reach the thick of the Missouri Ozarks and my destination, a small archipelago of cabins in the woods that accepts cash for weekly rentals and has cable TV, a must. I plan to hole up there the first week or two. I don't want to be on the road when the news hits, and it's the last place Nick would think I'd hide once he realizes I'm hiding. This stretch of highway is particularly ugly. Middle America blight. After another 20 miles, I see up on the off-ramp the remains of a lonesome family gas station. Vacant, but not boarded up. And when I pull to the side, I see the women's restroom door swung wide. I enter. No electricity, but there's a warped metal mirror, and the water is still on. In the afternoon sunlight and the sauna heat, I remove from my purse a pair of metal scissors and bunny brown hair dye. I shear off large chunks of my hair. All the blonde goes into a plastic bag. Air hits the back of my neck, and my head feels light, like a balloon. I roll it around a few times to enjoy. I apply the color, check my watch, and linger in the doorway, looking out over miles of flatland Look out over miles of flatland pocked with fast food restaurants and motel chains. I can feel an Indian crying. Nick would hate that joke. Derivative. And then he'd add, although the word derivative as a criticism is itself derivative. I've got to get him out of my head. He still steps on my lines from 100 miles away. I wash my hair in the sink, the warm water making me sweat, and then back in the car with my bag of hair and trash. I put on a pair of outdated wire-rimmed glasses and look in the rearview mirror and smile again. Nick and I would never have married if I had looked like this when we met. All this could have been avoided if I were less pretty. Item 34. Change look. Check. Ooh, I love that. Just, the feeling of getting away from someone when they're so used to, like, stepping on your lines and stuff. I've had so many exes that have just like they get in your head, you know, and that she's like, I've got to get him out of my head. He still steps on my lines from 100 miles away. I'm like, oof, I feel that. By the way, no old car parked in St. Louis is safe from break-ins, especially in a lot. Yeah, well, I don't know. I have not been. Maybe Gillian Flynn had an argument with her editor and they left that in. It looks like a lunchbox. It does. That car absolutely looks like a lunchbox. I'm not sure exactly how to be dead Amy. I'm trying to figure out what that means for me, what I become for the next few months. Anyone, I suppose, except people I've already been. Amazing Amy, preppy 80s girl, ultimate frisbee granola and blushing ingenue and witty bourbon sophisticate. Brainy, ironic girl and boho babe. The latest version of frisbee granola. Cool girl and loved wife and unloved wife and vengeful scorned wife. Diary Amy. I hope you liked Diary Amy. She was meant to be likable. Meant for someone like you to like her. She's easy to like. I've never understood why that's considered a compliment. That just anyone could like you. No matter. I thought the entries turned out nicely, and it wasn't simple. I had to maintain an affable, if somewhat naive, persona, a woman who loved her husband and could see some of his flaws, otherwise she'd be too much of a sap, but was sincerely devoted to him, all the while leading the reader, in this case the cops, I am so eager for them to find it, toward the conclusion that Nick was indeed planning to kill me. So many clues to unpack, so many surprises ahead. Ooh. That's a really good line. I like that. I've never understood why that's considered a compliment, that just anyone could like you. I love that. Because I used to be that, you know. I used to be... people say that I'm likable. But back in the day, I was, like 2-3 years ago, I was super likable because I never stood up for anything. You know, I never put my foot down when it came to, like, things that were serious. So I enjoy that line. You know, now I've made lots of enemies because I stand up to abusers and I like don't just keep doing the same shit that I was doing before. So I understand that. I've never understood why that's considered a compliment, that just anyone could like you. One of my favorite quotes ever is vaguely related to this. It's about you. I think it's something to the effect of you could be the ripest, most juiciest peach on the planet, and there will always be someone who doesn't like peaches. I love that. I think about that quote a lot. I almost got a peach tattoo because of it. I might still. But it's one of those things where if you have a peach tattooed on you, you know, a bunch of people like, you like peaches? And I'll be like, they're okay. So they're just okay. Why do you have one tattooed on you? It's a long story. And I don't know if normal people get tired of talking about their tattoos, but like everyone asks about your tattoos when you have tattoos. Like, tell me the story of it. And I'm like, I've done it a lot. I know you're trying to be nice, but I've done it so many times. Your strength in the face of adversity is not only one of the reasons I like you, but it's also why you'll always have my respect as a man. That's really sweet. Thanks, bud. That's really awesome. I hope so. Because some days it's hard, you know. Because when you finally stand up to things and to people, you have these memories of these people that you used to be friends with. And I remembered like 5 or 6 of them today. Like, I woke up this morning and I don't know, mental abuse is weird. Some of them, I'm trying to think, I think all of them I was mentally abused by, but I think of friends that I used to have, and you have these good memories of them, and sometimes you wake up and you're like, man, I wonder what they're up to, or like, oh, I should text them and see what they're up to. But then you remember things ended badly between them, and they are very bad people, and you're like, oh shit, that's right. But you have all these good memories of when you didn't stand up to them before, and it's very weird. It's a weird feeling to remember that, and sometimes I'm like, it's a heavy thing to have on your conscience, but obviously it's all for the better. But but yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to have good memories of terrible people. You know, it's weird because you. I've been writing about it a lot because of the series that I've been writing. But it's I don't know. I think I'm just gonna keep saying it's weird on repeat. You know this already, but I'm so fucking proud of you. Well, thank you, Cucumber. I appreciate that. I'm proud of me too. Let's see. Nick always mocked my endless lists. It's like you make sure you're never satisfied, that there's always something else to be perfected instead of just enjoying the moment. But who wins here? I win, because my list, the master list entitled Fuck Nick Dunn, was exacting. It was the most complete, fastidious list that has ever been created. On my list was write diary entries for 2005 to 2010. 7 years of diary entries. Not every day, but twice monthly at least. Do you know how much discipline that takes? Would cool girl Amy be able to do that? To research each week's current events, to cross-consult with my old daily planners to make sure I forgot nothing important, then to reconstruct how Diary Amy would react to each event? It was fun, mostly. I'd wait for Nick to leave for the bar or to go meet his mistress, the ever-texting, gum-chewing, vapid mistress with her acrylic nails and the sweatpants with logos across the butt. She isn't like this, exactly, but she might as well be. And I'd pour some coffee or open a bottle of wine, pick one of my 32 different pens, and rewrite my life a little. Oh, I love that detail. That's really good. Because like they do that in the movie also, where she just has a shit ton of different pens in all different colors. And she uses it to like do the different diary entries. Amy's like an evil genius, like not even evil, just pushed to her absolute limits. And if she wants to do a horrible crime, she can do it because she, like she's that smart. And I also love this line. His mistress, the ever-texting, gum-chewing, vapid mistress with her acrylic nails and the sweatpants with logos across the butt. Parentheses, she isn't like this exactly, but she might as well be. I love that. Because she wants to hate this girl, but can't. Because it's like me, where I was thinking about Andy, and I was like, I don't think Andy's a bad person. I think she's just young. She's been another person for so long no one would suspect her. Yeah, exactly. Like, this is the perfect crime. Like, everything that goes into this is so detailed and so good, and I can't even go into some of the stuff because she'll explain it later, and I don't want to say it before it happens, but every detail of this is very well done. And it has to be if you're going to pull off something like this. It is true that I sometimes hated Nick less while I was doing this. A giddy, cool girl perspective will do that. Sometimes Nick would come home stinking of beer or of the hand sanitizer he wiped on his body post-mistress coitus. Never entirely erase the stink, though. She must have one rank pussy. And smile guiltily at me. Be all sweet and hand-dog with me. And I'd almost think, I won't go through with this. And then I'd picture him with her, in her stripper thong, letting him degrade her because she was pretending to be cool girl. She was pretending to love blowjobs and football and getting wasted. And I'd think, I am married to an imbecile. I'm married to a man who will always choose that. And when he gets bored with this dumb twat, he'll just find another girl who's pretending to be that girl. And he'll never have to do anything hard in his life. Resolve stiffened. Ooh, I love that. That's exactly what I was just talking about, I think. Where you remember the good times and then you're like, you know what, I won't do this. And then you remember who this guy has become. Nick is like a Law and Order villain, and Amy is like a Stephen King villain. That's a real good way to put it. Yeah. 152 entries total, and I don't think I ever lose her voice. I wrote her very carefully. Diary Amy. Diary Amy. She is designed to appeal to the cops, to appeal to the public should portions be released. They have to read this diary like it's some sort of gothic tragedy. A wonderful, good-hearted woman, whole life ahead of her, everything going for her, whatever else they say about women who die, chooses the wrong mate and pays the ultimate price. They have to like me. Her. My parents are worried, of course, but how can I feel sorry for them since they made me this way and then deserted me? They never, ever fully appreciated the fact that they were earning money from my existence, that I should have been getting royalties. Then, after they siphoned off my money, my quote-unquote feminist parents let Nick bundle me off to Missouri like I was some piece of chattel, some mail-order bride, some property exchange. Gave me a fucking cuckoo clock to remember them by. Thanks for 36 years of service. They deserve to think I'm dead because that's practically the state they consigned me to. No money, no home, no friends. They deserve to suffer too. If you can't just take care of me while I'm alive, you've made me dead anyway. Just like Nick, who destroyed and rejected the real me a piece at a time. You're too serious, Amy. You're too uptight, Amy. You overthink things. You analyze too much. You're no fun anymore. You make me feel useless, Amy. You make me feel bad, Amy. He took away chunks of me with blasé swipes. My independence, my pride, my esteem. I gave and he took and took. He giving treed me out of existence. That whore. He picked that little whore over me. He killed my soul, which should be a crime. Actually, it is a crime. According to me, at least. Ooh. That cuckoo clock came back. I didn't expect that. That's great. I have to write that down. Yeah, that does. She doesn't mention it in the movie, but it's fucked that like her parents whenever she did something in life, they made an Amy book where like she does the good thing. The psychological toll that has to take on a person. And I'm gonna write that down too, that Amy keeps taking down these perfect people. Perfect, quote unquote. Nick is perfect on the outside, and the parents are perfect on the outside as well. But then you pick it apart, and it's like, oh, this whole situation is very fucked. Nick Dunn, 7 days gone. Amy is just as much of a victim of her parents as Nick is. Yeah, it's like, I think Amy's like more of a victim of her parents than Nick is, because, or are you saying, well, let me think of her as Nick is are you saying that Amy is more of a victim, or I'm sorry, are you saying Amy is just as much of a victim of her parents as Nick is of Amy's parents? Because it's so funny that like Nick has to be the perfect human for Amy's parents, and Amy's parents have to be the perfect human for everyone else. And so no one is perfect, really. They're all just putting on different masks. And that's what the book is mainly about, is people putting on different masks. And no one being truthful with each other. That's dope. We're analyzing. I had to phone Tanner, my brand new lawyer, mere hours after I'd hired him, and say the words that would make him regret taking my money. I think my wife is framing me. I couldn't see his face, but I could imagine it. The eye roll, the grimace, the wariness of a man who hears nothing but lies for a living. "Well," he finally said after a gaping pause, "I'll be there first thing tomorrow, and we will sort this out. Everything on the table. And in the meantime, sit tight, okay? Go to sleep and sit tight." Go took his advice. She popped 2 sleeping pills and left me just before 11, while I literally sat tight in an angry ball on her couch. Every so often I'd go outside and glare at the woodshed, my hands on my hips, as if it were a predator I could scare off. I'm not sure what I thought I was accomplishing, but I couldn't stop myself. I could stay seated for 5 minutes tops before I'd have to go back outside and stare. I'd just come back inside when a knock rattled the back door. Fucking Christ. Not quite midnight. Cops would come to the front, right? And reporters had yet to stake out Goes. This would change in a matter of days, hours. I was standing, unnerved, undecided, in the living room when the banging came again, louder, and I cursed under my breath, tried to get myself angry instead of scared. Deal with it, done. I flung open the door. It was Andy. It was goddamn Andy, pretty as a picture, dressed up for the occasion, still not getting it, that she was going to put my neck right in the noose. Right in the noose, Andy. I yanked her inside, and she stared at my hand on her arm. "You were going to put my neck right in the fucking noose." "I came to the back door," she said. When I stared her down, she didn't apologize. She steeled herself. I could literally see her features harden. "I needed to see you, Nick. I told you. I told you I had to see you or talk to you every day, and today you disappeared. Straight to voicemail, straight to voicemail, straight to voicemail. If you don't hear from me, it's because I can't talk, Andy. Jesus, I was in New York getting a lawyer. He'll be here first thing tomorrow." "You got a lawyer? That was what kept you so busy that you couldn't call me for 10 seconds. I wanted to smack her. I took a breath. I had to cut things off with Andy. It wasn't just Tanner's warning I had in mind. My wife knew me. She knew I'd do almost anything to avoid dealing with confrontation. Amy was depending on me to be stupid, to let the relationship linger, and to ultimately be caught. I had to end it, but I had to do it perfectly, make her believe this was the decent thing. "He's actually given me some important advice," I began. "Advice I can't ignore. I'd been so sweet and doting just last night at my mandatory meeting in our pretend fort. I had made so many promises trying to calm her down. She wouldn't see this coming. She wouldn't take this well." "Advice? Good. Is it to stop being an asshole to me?" I felt the rage rise up, that this was already turning into a high school fight. A 34-year-old man in the middle of the worst night of my life, and I was having a meet-me-by-the-lockers squabble with a pissed-off girl. I shook her once, hard, a tiny droplet of spit landing on her lower lip. You don't get it, Andy. This isn't some joke. This is my life." I need you," she said, looking down at her hands. "I know I keep saying that, but I do. I can't do it, Nick. I can't go on like this. I'm falling apart. I'm so scared all the time." She was scared. I pictured the police knocking, and here I was with a girl I'd been fucking the morning my wife went missing. I'd sought her out that day. I had never gone to her apartment since that first night, but I went right there that morning because I'd spent hours with my heart pounding behind my ears, trying to get myself to say the words to Amy, "I want a divorce. I am in love with someone else. We have to end it. I can't pretend to love you. I can't do the anniversary thing. It would actually be more wrong than cheating on you in the first place." I know, debatable. But while I was gathering the guts, Amy had preempted me with her speech about still loving me, lying bitch, and I lost my nerve. I felt like the ultimate cheat and coward, the catch-22. I craved Andy to make me feel better. But Andy was no longer the antidote to my nerves. Quite the opposite. The girl was wrapping herself around me even now, oblivious as a weed. Oh, I see. Yeah. Nick's parents abused him, and Amy's parents abused her. Yeah, it's like all mental fucked up shit. I don't get how Amy can be this smart, but still in some way make her abuser a victim in the situation. She could have revealed his bullshits to the world, but instead she gave him a chance to find the proof and reverse it on her. Yeah. It's like I'm trying to like absorb information, you know, going from book to like chat. I'm trying to like think about things. Let me absorb it for a second. Let me process. So you don't get how she can be this smart, but still in some way make her abuser victim. It's the goddamn squeaking. It's the squeaking of the fan that's probably fucking with me. She could have revealed his bullshit to the world, but instead she gave him a chance to find the proof and reverse it on her. Yeah, she clearly wants his total defeat just as much as she wants her own victory. Yeah, because it's not good enough for her. She like divorcing Nick is what he wants, and so he wins, and then he just keeps going on. You know, there will be another girl after Andy, and then there will be another girl after her, and so she needs him to like, she needs to teach him a lesson. Trucy seems like she just wants to have the last word, even when she's supposed to be dead. Yeah, this is like, she's got to win. This is the win that she wants. Let's see. Okay. Look, Andy, I said, a big exhale, not letting her sit down, keeping her near the door. You are such a special person to me. You've handled all this so amazingly well. Make her want to keep you safe. I mean, her voice wavered. I feel so sorry for Amy, which is insane. I know I don't even have a right to feel sad for her or worried. And on top of feeling sad, I feel so guilty. She leaned her head against my chest. I retreated, held her at an arm's length so she had to look at me. Well, that's one thing I think we can fix. I think we need to fix, I said, pulling up Tanner's exact words. We should go to the police, she said. I'm your alibi for that morning. We'll just tell them. You're my alibi for about an hour that morning, I said. No one saw or heard Amy after 11 p.m. the night before. The police can say I killed her before I saw her. The police can say I killed her before I saw you. That's disgusting. I shrugged. I thought for a second about telling her about Amy. My wife is framing me, and quickly dismissed it. Andy couldn't play the game on Amy's level. She'd want to be my teammate, and she'd drag me down. Andy would be a liability going forward. I put my hands on her arms again, relaunched my speech. Look, Amy, we are both under an amazing amount of stress and pressure, and a lot of it is brought on by our feelings of guilt. Andy, the thing is, we are good people. We were attracted to each other, I think, because we both have similar values of treating people right, of doing the right thing. And right now we know what we are doing is wrong. Her broken, hopeful expression changed. The wet eyes, the gentle touch, they disappeared. A weird flicker, a window shade pulled down, something darker in her face. We need to end this, Andy. I think we both know that. It's so hard, but it's the decent thing to do. I think it's the advice we'd give ourselves if we could think straight. As much as I love you, I am still married to Amy. I have to do the right thing. And if she's found? She didn't say dead or alive. That's something we can discuss then. Then? And until then, what? I shrugged helplessly. Until then, nothing. He's thinking. What? Nick? I fuck off until then? Okay. Oh, it's more like, then. And until then, what? What, Nick? I fuck off until then? That's an ugly choice of words. But that's what you mean. But that's what you mean. She smirked. I'm sorry, Andy. I don't think it's right for me to be with you right now. It's dangerous for you. It's dangerous for me. It doesn't sit well with my conscience. It's just how I feel. Yeah, you know how I feel? Her eyes burst over, tears streaming down her cheeks. I feel like a dumb college girl that you started fucking because you were bored with your wife and I made it extremely convenient for you. You could go home to Amy and eat dinner with her and play around in your little bar that you bought with her money, and then you could meet me at your dying dad's house and jack off on my tits because poor you, your mean wife, would never let you do that. Andy, you know that's not. What a shit you are. What kind of man are you? Andy, please. Contain this, Nick. I think because you haven't been able to talk about this stuff, everything has gotten a little bigger in your mind. A little. Fuck you. You think I'm some dumb kid, some pathetic student you can manage? I stick by you through all this talk about how you might be a murderer, and as soon as it's a little tough for you. No, no, you don't get to talk about conscience and decency and guilt and feel like you're doing the right thing. Do you understand me? Because you are a cheating, cowardly, selfish shit. She turned away from me, sobbing, sucking in loud gulps of moist air and breathing out mules, and I tried to stop her. I grabbed her by the arm. Andy, this isn't how I want it. Hands off me! Hands off me! She moved toward the back door, and I could see what would happen. The hatred and embarrassment coming off her like heat. I knew she'd open a bottle of wine or two, and then she'd tell a friend or her mother, and it would spread like an infection. I moved in front of her, barring her way to the door. Andy, please. And she reached up to slap me, and I grabbed her arm just for defense. Our joined arms moved up and down like crazed dance partners. Let me go, Nick, or I swear. Just stay for a minute. Just listen to me. You, let me go. She moved her face toward mine like she was going to kiss me. She bit me. I jerked back, and she shot out the door. Holy shit. Okay. Andy is way more likable in the books. Andy in the movie is literally in two scenes. Andy in the movie is in that first initial scene where she comes to Nick's house that first night, and she's in another scene that hasn't happened yet. This is an entirely different side of Andy that we do not get in the movie at all. I love Book Andy. Book Andy's fucking dope. Book Andy gets a whole Book Andy. I'm writing that down. Book Andy is dope is literally what I'm putting. I'm sorry. Andy's in 3 scenes total in the movie. She's in the initial scene where she comes to meet Nick that night. She is in that scene during the Let's Find Amy thing where she like looks at him and like mouths asshole when she finds out that or it's actually before she finds out that Amy's pregnant in the movie. In the book, she does it afterwards, I believe, which makes more sense. So in my opinion, they should have done that in the movie where she finds out about Amy being pregnant and then mouths asshole at Nick. That would have made more sense narratively. And then she's in a third scene that hasn't happened yet. But Book Andy is getting her like development. She like stands up to Nick. That's awesome. That's fucking really cool. What the fuck? Why? I guess I'll have to see if there were deleted scenes for Gone Girl. Because Andy is barely a character in the movie. If you asked me to name the characters in Gone Girl, if I had just seen the movie, I would have forgotten Andy probably. But this is very cool that she like, wow, she has a whole scene where she's like, hey, you suck, dude. In the movie, we don't get that. That's really cool. Yeah, I'm just catching up with the chat. Oh, Nick, you know that's a fucking lie from back before. Yeah, oh my god. Jeez, Nick, that's a normie kink too. Everything about you is disappointing. Yeah, coming on her breasts is a normie kink. That's what Can we just agree that Nick majorly screwed that up? Yeah. Nick, I feel like you fumbled it. You biffed it real hard, bud. Just the hardest you could have biffed it. You did. You did it. You did it. Whew. Nick understands nothing about women. Lawyer, don't fuck up when you dub her. just don't do it, baby. Just don't fuck up. That's all you have to do. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. But we yeah, in the movie we don't get the lawyer saying in the movie Andy stops communicating with Nick. She isn't as needy in the movie, you know, because like in the book she's like, hey, you have to talk to me every day or I'm gonna lose my mind because this whole media thing is happening. And you know, normal circumstances, if someone's like text me every day, I'd be like, ooh, red flag. But I understand just because there's a whole media thing on fire. And I can understand because Nick probably isn't very communicative. He seems like he's just hooking up with with Andy just when he needs sex or when he wants to feel like a man. Um, and that was weird. The cup disappeared for a second and then reappeared, and all the things just jumped in. Cool. What a fun thing you've done. Um, but because there's I can see Nick not being communicative. So if Andy's like, "Hey, I need to know what's going on. You need to talk to me every day," and that is a very young thing to do. That's like acceptable for that. But then she matures within. She realizes the gravity of the situation. It's like, hey, this sucks. People who make movies tend to shorten things too much or remove character from what they see as side characters, and it annoys me. Yeah, yeah, like I understand that when you're translating a book to movie script, you need to like cut out a lot of shit because otherwise that movie's gonna, you know, like look at the size of this book. It's going to be hours long if you keep everything in. But that really took away from Andy's character. I'm glad I read the book so that I know Andy's kind of a badass. That must suck for the actress, you know? Because she probably read the book and was like, Andy's a total badass. And then she gets the script and they're like, she's in 3 scenes and you barely do anything in one of them. 2 of them, actually. She barely does anything in 2 of the 3 scenes. Well, very cool. Amy Elliott Dunn. 5 days gone. You may call me Ozark, Amy. I am ensconced in the hideaway cabins. Has ever there been a more apt name? And I sit quietly, watching all the levels and latches I put in place do their work. I have shed myself of Nick, and yet I think about him more than ever. Last night at 10:04 p.m., my disposable cell phone rang. That's right, Nick, you're not the only one who knows the old secret cell phone trick. It was the alarm company. I didn't answer, of course, but now I know Nick has made it as far as his dad's house. Clue 3. I changed the code 2 weeks before I disappeared and listed my secret cell as the first number to call. I can picture Nick, my clue in hand, entering his dad's dusty, stale house, fumbling with the alarm code. Then the time runs out. Beep, beep, beep. His cell is listed as the backup if I can't be reached, and I obviously can't. Oh, that's cool. They include another cell phone. Lake of the Ozarks is a popular getaway place. Oh, that is neat. And that's really smart of her to like list everything about this plan is so genius that she lists that as the number to call. So he tripped the alarm, and he talked to someone at the alarm company, so he's on record as being in his dad's house after my disappearance, which is good for the plan. It's not foolproof, but it doesn't have to be foolproof. I've already left enough for the police to make a case against Nick. The staged scene, the mopped up blood, the credit card bills. All these will be found by even the most incompetent police departments. Noelle will spill my pregnancy news very soon, if she hasn't already. It is enough, especially once the police discover Able Andy able to suck cock on command. So all these extras, they're just bonus fuck yous, amusing booby traps. I love that I am a woman with booby traps. Ellen Abbott is part of my plan too, the biggest cable crime news show in the country. I adore Ellen Abbott. I love how protective and maternal she gets about all the missing women on her show, and how rabid dog vicious she is once she seizes on a suspect, usually the husband. She is America's voice of female righteousness, which is why I'd really like to. Which is why I'd really like her to take on my story. The public must turn against Nick. It's as much a part of his punishment as prison for darling Nikki, who spends so much time worrying about what people. Sorry, who spends. Let's try that again. It's as much a part of his punishment as prison for darling Nicky, who spends so much time worrying about people liking him, to know he is universally hated. And I need Ellen to keep me apprised of the investigation. Have the police found my diary yet? Do they know about Andy? Have they discovered the bumped up life insurance? This is the hardest part, waiting for stupid people to figure things out. I flip on the TV in my little room once an hour, eager to see if Ellen has picked up my story. She has to. I can't see how she could resist. I am pretty, Nick is pretty, and I have the amazing Amy hook. Just before noon, she flares up, promising a special report. I stay tuned, glaring at the TV. Hurry up, Ellen, or hurry up, Ellen. We have that in common. We are both people and entities. Amy and Amy, Ellen and Ellen. Tampon commercial, detergent commercial, maxi pad commercial, Windex commercial. What they call women do is clean and bleed. And finally, there I am, my debut. Oh, what a cool little paragraph. Tampon commercial, detergent commercial, maxi pad commercial, Windex commercial. You'd think all women do is clean and bleed. I love that. That's really good. Because it's very true. Because that's just the kind of shit that you see on those that shits. Very good. Oh, people go there to fish, float with inner tubes and beer, and just party. Waiting for stupid people to figure things out. She is quite a narcissist for someone who spent years kowtowing. Yeah. She is. She knows she is smart, and she knows a lot of people are dumb. Or assumes they are. It's very difficult once you reach a certain level of intelligence to not think everyone else is just stupid. Yeah, you know what? I want to make a note of that. Because I've been talking about this whole time how Nick is so much more hated in the book because we can hear his thoughts. But Amy is also less likable in the book because we can hear her thoughts. That's very interesting. So Nick is way more of an asshole, and Amy is way more of a narcissist. I know from the second Ellen shows up, glowering like Elvis, that this is going to be good. A few gorgeous photos of me, a still shot of Nick with his insane "love me" grin from the first press conference. News. There has been a fruitless multi-site search for the beautiful young woman with everything going for her. News. Nick fucked himself already, taking candid photos with a townie during a search for me. This is clearly what hooked Ellen, because she is pissed. There he is, Nick in his sweetie pie mode, the I am the beloved of all women mode, his face pressed against the strange woman's as if they're happy hour buddies. What an idiot. I love it. Ellen Abbott is making much of the fact that our backyard leads right to the Mississippi River. I wonder then if it has been leaked. The search history on Nick's computer, which I made sure includes a study on the locks and dams of the Mississippi, as well as a Google search for the words "body floats Mississippi River." Not to put too fine a point on it. It could happen, possibly, unlikely, but there is precedent that the river might sweep my body all the way to the ocean. I've always felt sad for myself, picturing my slim, naked, pale body floating just beneath the current, a colony of snails attached to one bare leg, my hair trailing like seaweed until I reach the ocean and drift down, down, down to the bottom, my waterlogged flesh peeling off in soft streaks, me slowly disappearing into the current like a watercolor until just the bones are left. But I'm a romantic. In real life, if Nick had killed me, I think he would have just rolled my body into a trash bag and driven me to one of the landfills in the 60-mile radius. Just dispose of me. He'd have taken a few items with him, the broken toaster that's not worth fixing, a pile of old VHS tapes he's been meaning to toss to make the trip efficient. Ooh, that hits me hard, that she's like, I'm a romantic, I'm putting all this effort into it, when Nick would just put my body in a bag and just take me to the dump. That says a lot. Oh. She's not as worried about image, but she treats every act like a game she's no chance of losing. Yeah, isn't that interesting? They're both they're both interested about image in different ways, I feel. Because Nick is interested in like everyone loved me, everyone liked me. My name isn't Lance, it's Nick. Whereas Amy is interested in everyone, especially Nick, knowing how smart she is. Let me write that down, actually. That's good. Boom. Well, she sees it as a game only she takes serious, and that's why she can't lose. That's smart too. Yeah, that's a very good point. Um, yeah, so she sees it as a game that. What did you say? You said it in a smart way. Only she takes serious, and that's why she can't lose. I'm sure that's good ASMR for y'all, just hearing this fucking type. Thank you. That's a good point. That's why she's so confident. She's like, she starts off the chapter or whatever being like, you know how I found out that he was cheating on me? I saw them. That's how stupid Nick is. It's like he just like presses her up against a tree in the middle of town where everyone knows them. Like, let's see. Ooh. I'm gonna take an Advil real quick, just because my back is hurting a little bit. I've been working out a lot lately, which has been good for me, but your back gets tight, and I'm also editing on the computer, so my back is always fucked. It's usually like my neck, like this, is tight usually. Very good. Alrighty. I'm learning to live fairly efficiently myself. A girl has to budget when she's dead. I had time to plan to stockpile some cash. I gave myself a good 12 months between deciding to disappear and disappearing. That's why most people get caught in murders. They don't have the discipline to wait. I have $10,200 in cash. If I'd cleared out, I have $10,200 in cash. If I'd cleared out $10,200 in a month, that would have been noticed. But I collected cash forwards from credit cards I took out in Nick's name. The cards that would make him look like a greedy little cheat, and I siphoned off another $4,400 from our bank accounts over the months. Withdrawals of $200 or $300, nothing to attract attention. I stole from Nick, from his pockets, $20 here, $10 there. A slow, deliberate stockpile. It's like that budgeting plan where you put the money you'd spend on your morning Starbucks into a jar, and at the end of the year you have $1,500. I'd always steal from the tip jar when I went to the bar. I'm sure Nick blamed Go, and Go blamed Nick, and neither of them said anything because they felt too sorry for each other. Ooh, that's good. Yeah, I'm gonna write down that Amy's patient. That's one of the things that she's like, I can win this because I'm patient. She says that's how murderers get caught. But I am careful with money. My point. I have enough to live on until I kill myself. I'm going to hide out long enough to watch Lance Nicholas Dunn become a worldwide pariah, to watch Nick be arrested, tried, marched off to prison, bewildered in an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs, to watch Nick squirm and sweat and swear he is innocent and still be stuck. Then I will travel south along the river, where I will meet up with my body, my pretend floating other Amy body, in the Gulf of Mexico. I will sign up for a booze cruise, something to get me out into the deep end, but nothing requiring identification. I will drink a giant ice-wet shaker of gin, and I will swallow sleeping pills, and when no one is looking, I'll drop silently over the side, my pockets full of Virginia Woolf rocks. It requires discipline to drown oneself, but I have discipline in spades. My body may never be discovered, or it may resurface weeks, months later, eroded to the point that my death can't be time-stamped, and I will provide a last bit of evidence to make sure Nick is marched to the padded cross, the prison table where he'll be pumped with poison and die. I'd like to wait around and see him dead, but given the state of our justice system, that may take years, and I have neither the money nor the stamina. I'm ready to join the Hopes. I did veer from my budget a bit already. I spent about $500 on items to nice up my cabin, good sheets, a decent lamp, towels that don't stand up by themselves from years of bleaching. But I try to accept what I'm offered. There's a man a few cabins away, a taciturn fellow, a hippie dropout of the Grizzly Adams, homemade granola variety, full beard and turquoise rings and a guitar he plays on his back deck some nights. His name, he says, is Jeff. Am I getting too... Okay, good. I wasn't sure if I dropped in Nick's voice for a second. His name, he says, is Jeff. Just like my name, I say, is Lydia. We smile only in passing, but he brings me fish. A couple of times now, he brings a fish by, freshly stinking but scalded and scaled and headless, and presents it to me in a giant icy freezer bag. Fresh fish, he says, knocking, and if I don't open the door immediately, he disappears, leaving the bag on my front doorstep. I cook the fish in a decent skillet I bought at yet another Walmart, and it's not bad, and it's free. Where do you get all the fish? I ask him. At the Gittin' place, he says. Dorothy, who works the front desk and has already taken a liking to me, brings tomatoes from her garden. I eat the tomatoes that smell like the earth. Okay. I eat the tomatoes that smell like the earth and the fish that smells like the lake. I think that by next year, Nick will be locked away in a place that smells only of the inside. Fabricated odors, deodorants, and old shoes and starchy foods, stale mattresses. His worst fear, his own personal panic dream. He finds himself in jail, realizing he did nothing wrong but unable to prove it. Nick's nightmares have always been about being wronged, about being trapped, a victim of forces beyond his control. That's interesting. I'm going to write down the Hopes because she does... she plans to kill herself in the movie also, so people will find her body. But this backstory with the Hopes isn't talked about in the movie. In fact, she doesn't talk about her parents at all. Like she doesn't in this context. She talks about it in what is it? In the diary Amy, she talks about like her mom and dad having like a perfect relationship. But she doesn't talk about the Hopes. And the Hopes give Amy's suicide or planned suicide a much deeper, like, I have a better understanding of it. Before I was just like, whoa, that's commitment. But now it makes more sense that she's been fucked up, rightfully, from all of the babies who died before her, you know. Hey, King Frederick, what is up? But people around here also fish a lot and clean their own fish. Oh, the Gettin' Place, I see. The Gettin' Place is Midwest for the store. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure what that meant. But people around here also fish a lot and clean their own fish. One trip can get you a month's worth of fish. That's cool. I wasn't sure what that was slang for. He always gets up after these dreams, paces around the house, then puts on clothes and goes outside, wanders along the roads near our house into a park. A Mississippi park, a New York park, going wherever he wants. That's interesting, yeah. So she's talking about his worst fear is him finding himself in jail, realizing he did nothing wrong but unable to prove it. Nick's nightmares have always been about being wronged, about being trapped, a victim of forces beyond his control. I'm gonna write that down because that's gives even more meaning to it. What page is this? 247. That adds even more meaning to getting Nick put in jail, is that this is like his worst nightmare. Oh yeah, I'm reading to you. That's you totally can follow along, but I assume people don't have Gone Girl. But if you do, feel free. So he walks around the park. He is a man of the outdoors, if he is not exactly outdoorsy. He's not a hiker, a camper, he doesn't know how to make fires. He wouldn't know how to catch fish and present them to me. But he likes the option, he likes the choice. He wants to know he can go outside, even if he chooses instead to sit on the couch and watch cage fighting for 3 hours. I do wonder about the little slut, Andy. I thought she'd last exactly 3 days. Then she wouldn't be able to resist sharing. I know she likes to share because I'm one of her friends on Facebook. My profile name is invented, Madeline Elster. Ha! My photo is stolen from a pop-up ad for mortgages. Blonde, smiling, benefiting from historically low interest rates. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's not... Andy is such a non-thought. Andy is such a non-thought in the movie that this is just like not even a thing. Twitch recommended I should watch this stream. Lol, so here I am. Oh, dope. Welcome. Getting some education. Because this is basically like an English class where we take something apart, put it back together. Let's see. Andy is such a non-thought in the movie that like this isn't in there, that Amy's friends with her on Facebook. 4 months ago, Madeline randomly asked to be Andy's friend, and Andy, like a hapless puppy, accepted. So I know the little girl fairly well, along with all her minutia enthralled friends, who take mini naps and love Greek yogurt and Pinot Grigio and enjoy sharing that with one another. Andy is a good girl, meaning she doesn't post photos of herself, quote unquote, partying, and she never posts lascivious messages, which is unfortunate. When she's exposed as Nick's girlfriend, I'd prefer the media find photos of her doing shots or kissing girls or flashing her thong. This would more easily cement her as the homewrecker she is. Homewrecker. My home was disheveled, but not yet wrecked when she first started kissing my husband, reaching inside his trousers, slipping into bed with him, taking his cock in her mouth all the way to the root so he feels extra big as she gags, taking it in her ass deep, taking cum shots to the face and tits, then licking it off. Yum. Definitely taking, her type would. They've been together for over a year, every holiday. I went through his credit card statements, the real ones, to see what he got her for Christmas, but he's been shockingly careful. I wonder what it feels like to be a woman whose Christmas present must be bought in cash. Liberating. Being an undocumented girl means being the girl who doesn't have to call the plumber or listen to gripes about work or remind him to pick up some goddamn cat food. I need her to break. I need 1. Noelle to tell someone about my pregnancy. 2. The police to find the diary. 3. Andy to tell someone about the affair. I suppose I had her stereotyped that a girl who posts updates on her life 5 times a day for anyone to see would have no real understanding of what a secret is. She's made occasional grazing mentions of my husband online. Saw Mr. Hunky today. Oh, do tell. When do we get to meet this stud? Bridget likes this. A kiss from a dreamy guy makes everything better. Too true. When do we get to meet Dreamy? Bridget likes this. But she's been surprisingly discreet for a girl of her generation. She's a good girl for a cunt. I can picture her, that heart-shaped face tilted to one side, the gently furrowed brow. I just want you to know I'm on your side, Nick. I'm here for you. Probably baked him cookies. The Ellen Abbott cameras are now panning the volunteer center, which looks a little shabby. A correspondent is talking about how my disappearance has rocked this tiny town, and behind her I can see a table lined with homemade casseroles and cakes for poor Nicky. Even now the asshole has women taking care of him. Desperate women spotting an opening. A good-looking, vulnerable man. And fine, he may have killed his wife, but we don't know that. Not for sure. For now, it's a relief just to have a man to cook for, the 40-something equivalent of driving your bike past the cute boy's house. Whew. Oh, you've never heard of Gone Girl? Yeah, Cucumber is summarizing it well. Well, Nick is a cold husband, and his wife, Amy, went missing. The story is basically giving the reader clues as he deals with trying to find her. Yeah. The movie, I believe, came out in... I'm going to guess... Without looking it up, I'm gonna look it up, but first I want to guess. It's 2020. I'm gonna guess that it came out in 2014 or 2015. Let me check. 2014. Got it. Okay. But yeah, I become obsessed with the movie once a year, and it's been changing based on who I am as a person. And this year I was like, you know what? I should read the book. Like, why haven't I read the book yet if I like the movie? So we're, detailing the differences and such. I'm not an avid reader. Honestly, neither am I. I'm an English major, but I didn't read most of the books that they asked us to. I did Spark Notes and stuff. I think the last book I actually read all the way through was high school. Yeah, it must have been high school. So, let's see. I am 27 right now. 10 years? Yeah, it might be like 10 or 9 years since I've read a book. So this is It's new for both of us. It's hard for me to read due to ADD. I feel that. Yeah, I started reading things. We were talking about it earlier, but I haven't been officially diagnosed or anything, so I don't want to say I have like high functioning autism or whatever if I haven't been diagnosed. But over the years, people with autism keep noting things about me and are like, I think you have it. You should maybe look into that, get diagnosed so you can like deal with it. But every year I've been like, I'm good. Because I don't want to learn things about myself. But I probably do have it, and one of the things that leads me to believe so, and that has led other people to believe so, is that I what's the word? When there's sensory overload, I experience sensory overload a lot. Where right now there's a fan making a noise above me right now with a little like every time, and people are trying to talk to me in the chat, and I can't process what they're saying because there's too much happening in my brain, even though like nothing is happening. It's barely a noise, but I'm noticing it, and it's like deep in my brain, and I can't focus. And so sometimes I'll start reading a book. I started reading Gone Girl, I think 3 or 4 times, and I kept putting it down and forgetting everything I'd read because I kept getting distracted by like everything that was happening. So this is good for me to get through the book because I'm doing a video on it on my YouTube channel, and I need to fucking finish the book in order to do that. So this is like forcing me to like focus. Yeah, audiobooks are dope. I'm not sponsored by Audible, but Audible.com has fucking books. I don't know, but it's good. I like having someone read to me for that reason. Yeah, the Harry Potter books have really good audiobooks, I've heard. It's sometimes difficult to focus on books for very long, so this is nice. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad I'm able to, because that's what the ultimate goal of this is. I stream games and stuff, but this is a different experience, and while quarantine is happening, I kind of I put out this intention of being like, I'm gonna stream more and I'm gonna do more YouTube videos and stuff because I want to be able to entertain people while all this shit is happening, because people are losing their minds, and people are worried about getting sick or their family members getting sick, and I kind of just want a TV show, quote unquote, a thing that you can come to once every 2 days to just like chill and hang out and like distract yourself for a little bit. So games are dope. I do want to get back to Stardew Valley, and we have to finish Life is Strange too. But I kind of wanted to just like read for a bit, get through a book, just to provide something a little different. Oh, you've been reading Altered Carbon? Yeah, it's a really good cyberpunk series that has a Netflix show. I saw the first season of that. I remember liking it, but I have to rewatch it because it was a while ago. Oh, cool. You can rent audiobooks from your local library. Well, you used to, lol. Yeah, I'm not sure if the libraries are open right now, or if even before, if that we still live in a time where you could do that. But yeah, there's lots of audiobook stuff on the internet now, which is great. As someone with autism, I recognize the fear of getting it on paper, but don't see it as changing anything. It's an opportunity for others to get an easier understanding on certain aspects of you. That's a really good point. You're right. That's a very good way of thinking about it. I am going to, what? I'm gonna fucking copy that. Put it as a reminder to myself. Because things are scary, but you know what? Lots of things are scary. Lots of things are scary, and it's just, you're right. It's an opportunity for others to get an easier understanding of certain aspects of you, and I shouldn't be afraid of that. Thank you, bud. I love Life is Strange 1. Only gotten through episode 2 for I'm not sure if that's a typo or if that's I'm not sure if that's a typo or if that's actually what you meant. But yeah, Life is Strange 2, we started playing, um and I had no, like, what's the word? I knew nothing about it going in, and I avoided it for a while because I liked Life is Strange 1 because it was like queer and cool, and I was on Tumblr and I was like, cool, there's these things. But then Life is Strange 2 came out, and it was about these two brothers, and I was like, I don't know if, like, lightning strikes once kind of thing. Maybe they're just going to do the same old, and this series is gonna, like, okay, we did a queer centered story. Now let's get back to like straight cis stuff, and that's fine. But like, I there was nothing that really hooked me in the way that Life is Strange did, so I kind of avoided it. And then people started messaging me like a year after it came out and was like, "Hey, you actually would really like Life is Strange too. There's a lot of like things that relate closely to you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So we started playing it. We started streaming it, and turns out very cool. Life is Strange 2 is very good. Uh, it's about two brothers running from ice, and it's surprisingly queer. It's like queerer than Life is Strange 1, and I was like, holy shit, no one's talking about this game. Which is a shame because it hasn't gotten a lot of attention, and no one's really talking about it, which is a bummer because I'm really enjoying it. But we are on the last episode of that game. Oh, typo. Episode. You've only gotten through episode 2 for the second game. Yeah. Well, I recommend keep going at it because I'm really enjoying it. Uh, it's I don't know. I think I like Max and Chloe better as protagonists, but I like the story and where things are going more in Life is Strange 2, if that makes sense. And it's cool that they did Captain Spirit, and that like ties into it as well. So I'm excited to see how that ends. But yeah, let's get back to Laybook. Where are we going? Where's she at? Boop. Okay. Oh, right. We were talking about. I like the little touch of Bridget likes this. That's funny. That's a very Facebook thing. But she's been. Oh wait, I already read that actually. I already read that. Okay, next paragraph. The Ellen Abbott cameras are now panning. Oh wait, did I read this? I did read that too. Okay, sorry about that. Here we go. Okay. They are showing Nick's grinning cell phone photo again. I can picture the towny slut in her lonely, glistening kitchen, a trophy kitchen bought with alimony money, mixing and baking while having an imaginary conversation with Nick. No, I'm 43 actually. No, really, I am. No, I don't have men swarming all over me. I really don't. The men in town aren't that interesting, most of them. I get a burst of jealousy toward the woman with her cheek against my husband. She is prettier than me as I am now. I eat Hershey bars and float in the pool for hours under a hot sun, the chlorine turning my flesh rubbery as a seal's. I'm tan, which I've never been before, at least not a dark, proud, deep tan. A tan skin is a damaged skin, and no one likes a wrinkled girl. I spent my life slick with SPF. But I let myself darken a bit before I disappeared, and now, 5 days in, I'm on my way to Brown. Brown as a berry, old Dorothy, the manager says. You are brown as a berry, girl, she says with delight when I come in to pay next week's rent in cash. I have dark skin, my mouse-colored helmet cut. Yeah, the smart girl glasses. I gained 12 pounds in the months before my disappearance, carefully hidden in roomy sundresses. Not that my.
You got hella cash.
Oh, dope! King Frederick, thank you so much for the bits. Hell yeah. Gonna go in a minute, but was nice hanging out. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the bits, and thank you for chilling for a bit. I was careful to not have. Oh, I see. I was careful to have no photos taken of me in the months before I disappeared, so the public will know only pale, thin Amy. I am definitely not that anymore. I can feel my bottom move sometimes on its own when I walk. A wiggle, a jiggle. Wasn't that some old saying? I never had either before. My body was a beautiful, perfect economy, every feature calibrated, everything in balance. I don't miss it. I don't miss men looking at me. It's a relief to walk into a convenience store and walk right back out without some hangabout in sleeveless flannel leering as I leave, some muttered bit of misogyny slipping from him like a nacho cheese burp. Now no one is rude to me, but no one is nice to me either. No one goes out of their way, not overly, not really, not the way they used to. I am the opposite of Amy. Ooh. That's cool. And that's also a good touch for this like cold calculating Amy. Because in the movie she doesn't talk about like gaining weight or anything. Damn, Amy sounding thick. she is sounding thick. Hella cash. Hella bits. Yeah, I think I only changed the sound clip that plays when people donate. I think a couple days ago. Because I was going through, and since streaming is something that I'm doing more often, I was like, you know what? I should probably personalize the experience a little bit more. So someone had actually made a GIF of me from one of my videos recently, and they tweeted it at me, and that got me thinking, oh, that's a fun thing. I should make GIFs of just goofy shit from my videos and make them the notification that pops up. So I did that, and then I also, while I was there, I was like, I'll change the color of the font, I'll switch what it says and stuff like that, and I just kind of made it a little more personalized, and I like it now. Thick Amy. Can't blame anyone for a nacho cheese burp. Nachos are beautiful. Nachos are beautiful. God, I haven't had nachos in a long ass time. That is a food. You know what? I have nachos. I definitely could have nachos. Remember the slime sex? I don't actually. I'll have to. Okay, I'll watch this later because y'all would be able to hear the audio. But Cucumber, could you do me a favor and message me on Discord with that? Because I don't want it to get lost in the chat, but I do want to watch that later. Oh, hell yeah. I'm gonna head out and try to sleep hard. Love y'all. Have a good night. Have a good night. Thank you for stopping by. I think I will continue to stream every other day until I die. So, but also check below for the stream schedule. Okay, new chapter. Nick Dunn. 8 days gone. As the sun came up, I held an ice cube to my cheek. Hours later, and I could still feel the bite, 2 little staple-shaped creases. I couldn't go after Andy, a worse risk than her wrath, so I finally phoned her. Voicemail. Ooh, that is great. Yeah, because that conversation where Andy bites him doesn't happen. I love that touch because now Nick has something on his face, and that's like scarier, you know, for public appearances and all that. But I love that. Contain. This must be contained. And then he goes into the voicemail. Andy, I am so sorry. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on. Please forgive me. Please. Oh. What? Wait, Nick leaves that as a voicemail? Nick, you can't leave that as a voicemail, you idiot. Okay, I legitimately don't know what happens because this is not in the movie. But if someone gets their hand on that voicemail, Nick, you are fucked. You are so fucked. Why? Why would you leave that as a voicemail? Oh my god. Yeah, that's probably you messaging me. Yup. That is so fucked, Nick. Holy shit. Oh my god. Yeah, that's so stupid. He dumb. He dumb. He's as dumb as Amy is thick. Oh God. Because also, this voicemail, here again, here's the exact transcript of this voicemail. Andy, I am so sorry. I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going on. Please forgive me, please. That sounds like you killed your wife. That sounds like you and Andy had a conversation where you admitted to killing your wife and she ran off, and so you left her a voicemail that was like, oopsie, don't tell anyone about that. You are so fucked. Oh my god. I shouldn't have left a voicemail. But then I thought, she may have hundreds of my voicemails saved for all I know. That's fair, but also very stupid idea, because that's the first one where you sound very bad. I feel like any other voicemail of yours could not have possibly sounded that bad. Good God, if she played a hit list of the raunchiest, nastiest, smittenest, any woman on any jury would send me away just for that. It's one thing to know I'm a cheat, and another to hear my heavy teacher voice telling a young co-ed about my giant, hard... I blushed in the dawn light. The ice cube melted. I sat on Go's front steps, began phoning Andy every 10 minutes, got nothing. I was sleepless, my nerves barb-wired, when Boney pulled into the driveway at 6:12 a.m. I said nothing as she walked towards me, bearing 2 styrofoam cups. Hey, Nick, I brought you some coffee. I just came over to check on you. I bet. I know you're probably reeling from the news about the pregnancy. She made an elaborate show of pouring 2 creamers into my coffee the way I like it, and handed it to me. What's that? She said, pointing to my cheek. What do you mean? I mean, Nick, what is wrong with your face? There's a giant pink... She leaned in closer, grabbed my chin. It's like a bite mark. It must be hives. I get hives when I'm stressed. Mm-hmm. She stirred her coffee. You do know I'm on your side, right, Nick? Right. I am. Truly. I wish you'd trust me. I'm getting to the point where I won't be able to help if you don't trust me. I know that sounds like a cop line, but it's the truth. We sat in a strange, semi-companionable silence, sipping coffee. Hey, so I wanted you to know before you hear it anywhere, she said brightly. We found Amy's purse. What? Yep, no cash left, but her ID, cell phone, in Hannibal, of all places, on the banks of the river, south of the steamboat landing. Our guess, someone wanted to make it look like it'd been tossed in the river by the perp on the way out of town, heading over the bridge into Illinois. Make it look like? It had never been fully submerged. There are fingerprints still at the top near the zipper. Now, sometimes fingerprints can hold on even in water, but I'll spare you the science. I'll just say the theory is this purse was kind of settled on the bags to make sure it was found. Sounds like you're telling me this for a reason, I said. The fingerprints we found were yours, Nick, which isn't that crazy. Men get into their wives' purses all the time, but still. She laughed as if she got a great idea. I gotta ask, you haven't been to Hannibal recently, have you? She said it with such casual confidence, I had a flash. A police tracker hidden somewhere in the undercarriage of my car, released to me the morning I went to Hannibal. Why exactly would I go to Hannibal to get rid of my wife's purse? Say you killed your wife and staged the crime scene in your home, trying to get us to think she was attacked by an outsider. But then you realized we were beginning to suspect you, so you wanted to plant something to get us to look outside again. That's a theory. But at this point, some of my guys are sure you did it. They'd find any theory that fit. So let me help you. You in Hannibal lately? I shook my head. You need to talk to my lawyer, Tanner Bolt. Tanner Bolt? You sure that's the way you want to go, Nick? I feel like we've been pretty fair with you so far, pretty open. Bolt, he's a last-ditch guy. He's the guy guilty people call in. Well, I'm clearly your lead suspect, Rhonda. I have to look out for myself. Let's all get together when he gets in, okay? talk this through. Definitely. That's our plan. A man with a plan, Boney said. I look forward to it. She stood up, and as she walked away, she called back, Witch hazel's good for hives. Oof. He dumb. Yeah, so together they could have been dumb thick. What a missed opportunity. That's their shipping name. Calling someone every 10 minutes usually doesn't get them on your, back on your good side. Nope. It's but Nick is so dumb and so desperate right now. Nothing survives the Mississippi River. It sounds like a vendetta of some kind. Like you're like, oof. No one. I ain't going back to Missouri. That's what I think of. That's from Fairly Odd Parents, I think. Pardon me. Let's see. An hour later, the doorbell rang, and Tanner Bolt sorry. Again, with the oversensory, there was someone who slammed a door in the hallway, and it just stopped me immediately. It doesn't concern me. Relax. An hour later, the doorbell rang, and Tanner Bolt stood there in a baby blue suit, and something told me it was the look he wore when he went down south. He was inspecting the neighborhood, eyeing the cars and the driveways, assessing the houses. He reminded me of the Elliots, in a way, examining and analyzing at all times. A brain with no off switch. It's funny, down south is in quotes, and I know what it's meant to be, but I thought that he wears that when he goes down on someone. When he goes down south, you gotta wear that suit. We settled down at the kitchen table. Me, Tanner, and a just woken up Go, huddling over her first cup of coffee. I spread out all of Amy's clues like some awful tarot card reader. Tanner leaned towards me, his neck muscles tense. Okay, Nick, make your case, he said. Your wife orchestrated this whole thing. Make the case. He jabbed his index finger on the table. Because I'm not moving forward with my dick in one hand and a wild story about a frame-up in the other. Unless you convince me. Unless it works. I took a deep breath and gathered my thoughts. I was always better at writing than talking. Before we start, I said, you have to understand one very key thing about Amy. She is fucking brilliant. Her brain is so busy, it never works on just one level. She's like this endless archaeological dig. You think you've reached the final layer, and then you bring down your pick one more time, and you break through to a whole new mine shaft beneath, with a maze of tunnels and bottomless pits. Fine, Tanner said. So? Ooh, that's great. 253, I'm going to write that down. Yeah, because that is a very good assessment of Amy, is the thing you got to know. She's brilliant. Because otherwise, this wouldn't work. Oh, the river, Mississippi River is like 3 football fields wide. Holy shit. That's like a fucking ocean. That's not, it's not the Mississippi River. I always took it as like a little river, you know. But that's a monster of a river. You could play 3 games of football. Let's see. All right, I got to turn the page. Fine, Tanner said. So, the second thing you need to know about Amy is she is righteous. She's one of those people who is never wrong, and she loves to teach lessons, dole out punishment. Right, fine. So, let me tell you a story. One quick story. About 3 years ago, we were driving up to Massachusetts. It was awful, road rage, traffic, and this trucker flipped Amy off. She wouldn't let him in, and then he zoomed up and cut her off. Nothing dangerous, but really scary for a second. You know those signs on the back of trucks? How am I driving? She had me call and give them the license plate. I thought that was the end of it. 2 months later, 2 months later, I walked into our bedroom and Amy was on the phone, repeating that license plate. She had a whole story. She was traveling with her 2-year-old, and the driver had nearly run her off the road. She said it was her fourth call. She said she'd even researched the company's routes so she could pick the correct highway for her fake near accidents. She thought of everything. She was really proud. She was going to get that guy fired. Jesus, Nick, Gil muttered. That's a very enlightening story, Nick, Tanner said. It's just an example. So now, help me put this all together, he said. Amy finds out you're cheating. She fakes her death. She makes the supposed crime scene look just fishy enough to raise eyebrows. She screwed you over with the credit cards and the life insurance and your little man cave situation out back. She picks an argument with me on the night before she goes missing, and she does it standing near an open window so our neighbor will hear. Well, that's a very good story. Because it shows, what Amy will do to like get revenge. That's dope. That's not in the movie. Do I want to write that down? I do. That's brilliant. 254. Dope. Okay. What was the argument? I am a selfish asshole. Basically, the same one we always have. What our neighbor doesn't hear is Amy apologizing later because Amy doesn't want her to hear that. I mean, I remember being astonished because it was the quickest makeup we've ever had. By the morning, she was freaking making me crepes, for crying out loud. I saw her again at the stove, licking powdered sugar off her thumb, humming to herself, and I pictured me walking over to her and shaking her until... Okay, and the treasure hunt? Tanner said. What's the theory there? Each clue was unfolded on the table. Tanner picked up a few and let them drop. Those are all just bonus fuck yous, I said. I know my wife, believe me. She knew she had to do a treasure hunt or it would look fishy. So she does it, and of course it has 18 different meanings. Look at the first clue. I picture myself as your student, with a teacher so handsome and wise. My mind opens up, not to mention my thighs. If I were your pupil, there'd be no need for flowers, maybe just a naughty appointment during your office hours. So hurry up, get going, please do, and this time I'll teach you a thing or two. It's purely Amy. I read this, I think, hey, my wife is flirting with me. No, she's actually referring to my infidelity with Andy. Fuck you, number one. So I go there, to my office, with Gilpin, and what's waiting for me? A pair of women's underwear, not even close to Amy's size. The cops kept asking everyone what size Amy wore. I couldn't figure out why. But Amy had no way of knowing Gilpin would be with you. Tanner frowned. It's a damn good bet, Go interrupted. Clue 1 was part of the actual crime scene, so the cops would know about it, and she has the words office hours right in it. It's logical they'd go there, with or without Nick. So those panties, are they... Oh, so whose panties are they? Tanner asked. Ghost squinched her nose at the word panties. Me too, Go. Who knows? I said. I'd assumed they were Andy's, but Amy probably just bought them. The main point is that they're not Amy's size. They'd lead anyone to believe something inappropriate happened in my office with someone who is not my wife. Fuck you, number 2. And if the cops weren't with you when you went to the office? Tanner asked. Or no one noticed the panties? She doesn't care, Tanner. This treasure hunt, it's as much for her amusement as anything. She doesn't need it. She's overdone it all just to make sure there are a million damning little clues in circulation again. Again, you've got to know my wife. She's a belt and suspenders type. Okay, clue 2, Tanner said. Picture me. I'm crazy about you. My future is anything but hazy with you. You took me here so I could hear you chat about your boyhood adventures, crummy jeans and visor hat. Screw everyone else. Rest, they're all ditched. and let's sneak a kiss. Pretend we just got hitched. This is Hannibal, I said. Amy and I visited there once, so that's how I read it, but it's also another place where I had relations with Andy. And you didn't get a red flag? Tanner said. No, not yet. I was too moony about the notes Amy had written me. God, the girl knows me cold. She knows exactly what I want to hear. You are brilliant. You are witty. And how fun for her. And how fun for her to know that she can still fuck with my head like that. Oh, I'm sorry. And how fun for her to know that she could fuck with my head like that still. Long distance, even. I mean, I was practically falling in love with her again. My throat hitched for a moment. The goofy story about her friend Inslee's half-dressed, disgusting baby. Amy knew that was what I had loved most about us back when I loved us. Not the big moments, not the romantic with capital R moments, but our secret inside jokes. Now she was using them all against me. And guess what? I said. They just found Amy's purse in Hannibal. I'm sure as hell someone can place me there. Hell, I paid for my tour ticket with my credit card. So, again, here is this piece of evidence, and Amy making sure I can be linked to it. What if no one found the purse? Tanner asked. Doesn't matter, Go said. She's keeping Nick running in circles. She's amusing herself. I'm sure she was happy just knowing what a guilt trip it must be for Nick to be reading all these sweet notes when he knows he's a cheat and she's gone missing. I tried not to wince at her disgusted tone. Cheat. Pardon me. Just swallowing. What if Gilpin was still with Nick when you went to Hannibal? Tanner persisted. What if Gilpin were with Nick the whole time, so he knew that Nick didn't plant the purse then? Amy knows me well enough to know I'd ditch Gilpin. She knows I wouldn't want a stranger watching me read this stuff, gauging my reactions. Well, how do you know that? I just do. I shrugged. I just knew. Clue 3, I said, and pushed it in Tanner's hand. Maybe you feel guilty for bringing me here. I must admit, it felt a bit queer, but it's not like we had the choice of many a place. We made the decision. We made this our space. Let's take our love to this little brown house. Give me some goodwill, you hot lemon spouse. See, I misread this, thinking that bringing me here meant Carthage, but again she is referring to my father's house, and it's yet another place where you fuck this Andy girl, Tanner said. He turned to my sister. Pardon the vulgarity. Go gave a no problem flick of her hand. Tanner continued. So, Nick, there are incriminating women's panties in your office where you fucked Andy, and there is Amy's incriminating purse in Hannibal where you fucked Andy, and there is an incriminating treasure trove of secret credit card purchases in the woodshed where you fucked Andy. Yeah, that's right. So what's at your dad's house? And that's how the chapter ends. Oh, so good. I'm gonna stop for the night, actually, because that's a good place to stop. And I think it's good. I'm gonna try to, since the first part of the book we started on Nick chapters because the narrative was largely in his command. Now we're going to start each session on an Amy chapter, and I think that is dope. Thank y'all so much for joining me. Thank you for the follows and the bits and the subs. Really appreciate y'all. If you check below for the stream schedule, it will be updated as I know things. I think that you can look below to make sure, but I believe that I am streaming on Thursday. We can get back to Gone Girl. It'll be super dope. Thanks for the stream. It was fun. Thank you. Thank y'all for joining me. This has been really awesome. I really appreciate y'all showing up because it's very fun to read a book. I've always wanted to do a reading stream, and we finally get to do it, and y'all are having a good time and getting into the book. I really appreciate it. Hell yeah. Well, thank you all. Wash your hands. Stay safe. I will talk to you in a few days. Later, buds.